The Wheel of Time show airs, and episodes drop and are viewed, leaving scenes that become legend. Legend fades to season, and even season is long forgotten when the episode that gave it birth comes again. In one episode, called the sixth episode by some, an episode yet to come, an episode long past, a chatter began amongst the nerds of the internet. The chatter was not the Aftershow. There are no afters or befores to the airing of the Wheel of Time show. But it was an Aftershow.
Hey everybody, welcome back to an after show, and I realize I messed up the intro. I re-recorded myself saying the 7th episode and put the wrong track on the video because I'm dumb. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Doing well.
Fantastic. Good.
So good.
Oh, okay. Why is that not working? Okay. So this is an after show. We're talking about episode 7 of The Wheel of Time. The way the show works is we have a ticker at the bottom of the screen displaying the level of spoilers we will be talking about. We start off just talking general impressions of the episode 7, and then we'll get into a more detailed second tier of spoilers where we talk about the episode and anything season 1, and then at the end of the stream we'll go into heavy level spoilers where nothing's held back. We can talk about the books and all kinds of future speculation. So if you're ever confused, just check the tracker and you know when you can tune in and out. So without further ado, let me introduce my guests today. Let me share my screen, and I'm not going to mess it up this time because watch, I'm all right, here we go. All right, joining us today is my cousin Nathan. You know him. He's a tech mogul. He's invented so many amazing apps. The ones you've already heard of are Meow Mixer, Uber Eats, but he's also the lead designer behind the app Petflix, which I'm told is like Netflix, but for cats. Also joining us is my other cousin Jared. He is a budding architect. You know him, you love him. He's the lead designer behind a bunch of really famous buildings you've probably heard of, like the Taj Mahals, the Eiffel Tower, the Leaning Tower of Penis. But he's also the lead designer behind a very famous building in Australia, the Sydney Cockburn House. Joining us again is my friend Tanner, who is a wonderful English teacher. You may have read his book, Dating Students, When Is It Okay? But Tanner, you told me you have a new release you're working on, which will be released very soon, called Why You Know Speak Good.
You know, funnily enough, that is the thought I have about most of my students' writing.
And David, once again, I'm sorry I don't have a clever intro for you, but you did send me another picture of your workplace. Sorry, David is our last guest. Let me show that really quickly. David, that's the same photo you've shown.
No. This is the new one. This is this week's photo. This was my workspace this week.
It's this.
Last week was different.
I feel like this joke is getting really old. David, can you please send me a new picture next week? Thank you.
Hey, it's what I do.
And those are all my guests. So thanks for joining us. This is an after show. Let's. And we've got a viewer from Morocco, apparently. That's cool. Let's talk about episode 7, the Dark in the Ways, right? That's what it's called.
Yep, that sounds right.
What?
By the way, actually, before we get in there, I gotta say I'm kind of worried, Alan, that the searches you have to do for some of my works might be getting your search results mudding them up a bit. So I apologize.
The your employees have seen your work.
No, I'm just worried that it's contaminating your search results, for future searches. But
Because of all the pictures that I've had to look up. Oh yeah, you have no idea. My search history is
You don't have a separate computer for that? I don't understand.
I mean, I do incognito mode, but it doesn't help as much as you think.
Yeah.
I have a burner computer to look up
Just
Jared.
for like fun
just
penis,
for
penis jokes.
Jared's
Yeah.
architectures. Yeah.
Sorry for the inconvenience.
No, that's all good. It's all good. Okay, episode 7. I have some notes on episode 6 that I realized in the middle of the night, but I can't talk about them until we get to the spoiler section of the video. So I literally woke up in the middle of the night and thought, oh no, I need to talk about this.
Okay.
So, episode 7. What do we think?
I really liked episode 7. I know I complained that the last 2 episodes were a lot of character development, and yet we still didn't get the character development that I thought we needed in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And this episode was more character development, but it really worked. It was finally the character development that I've been looking for and searching for the whole show. I wish that some of the dialogue that happened in this scene happened earlier, but it was really good. We had some insight into all the main characters' motivations, especially with Rand. But I thought it was really good, and it wasn't all character development. We had that flashback sequence in the beginning that we find out how that ties to everything in the end. That was a good action sequence, and then we had them escaping the little underworld nether region, whatever you want to call it,
The ways.
The ways with the one Trolloc and those little shadow razor bats. So there was action too, so it was good. I thought it was a very well balanced episode, and this is probably my favorite episode in the series. Closely behind, I think episode 4 is my other favorite. And they're both pretty good, but yeah, I really enjoyed this episode.
Great. Okay. Any Tanner?
I was on the fence. I think I gotta wait on to comment though on a higher spoiler level. But there were good moments. But I mean, I like this week I've been listening to the Eye of the World audiobook while I've been watching the series, and I heard I'm like right on track with what the show is adapting. Yeah. And so it's kind of fresh in my mind, the differences between the two. And I can get some of the changes they made. And it works a bit better for a visual medium and for what the audiences that they're trying to adapt it for. But I'll talk more about that later.
Yeah. Okay.
I was going to say as well, I generally had a good, I enjoyed it. So I have general good things to say. I do have notes and some criticism, but ultimately I think it did what it needed to do, and it was a pretty good episode.
Yeah, I felt like it filled in a lot of holes that we were missing at the beginning, right? Because we've talked about some of the stuff, and I've talked to Nate about this too. I was like, every time it seems like we talk about something on this show, and then the next episode they're like, oh yeah, this is what we were trying to do, So it's a little delayed with some of the holes that they were filling, but they've filled in those holes that we've talked about for sure, and it feels definitely like they're trying to do the best that they can, and I think it was definitely more successful after this episode the whole series is more successful now.
Yeah, I think I agree with that general sentiment. I think overall, this episode is one of the better episodes. I have issues with certain things in this episode, and that we will get into. But overall, it was one of the better episodes. It was up there with episode 4 for me. And it does fill in a lot of the development that should have happened sooner. And I think that's a little bit to the show's detriment. Because the show wanted to keep the Dragon Reborn a secret. We know who it is now if you've seen episode 7, and I feel like we had to sacrifice a lot of these moments earlier on so that we could have them in this episode. And I feel like so it made this episode really good. It also made this episode kind of rushed. And I don't think that it was as effective as they wanted it to be. And I kind of feel like it would have been better if we just had it all along.
I mean, you're saying a lot there that I don't think we could quite talk about yet at this level.
Well, let's change it. So. We're gonna get into the episode.
Well, just from a non-book reader, like I said, I feel like there have been character motivations in particular that have not been addressed, and it just certain characters have just been there along for the ride, and I feel like this episode filled in those gaps, and it was really great. But like I said, I've been wanting that for 3 or 4 episodes now.
Right.
So
where is and I forgot to mention, I mean, if you've been watching the show before, David has not read the books, and Tanner is reading the books for the first time, and the rest of us have read the books at least once and are doing it multiple times now. So there it is. Okay, so let's change the spoiler level so we can actually talk about what the content of this episode. These will be moderate spoilers. Nothing from the books, but we can talk about anything that's in book 1 essentially, except the finale and season 1. So, the opening scene. An Aiel lady whose prey goes and kills like 10 guys.
Working mom is my wife.
Working mom.
Working mom.
I like that.
Highlight of the episode.
Yeah.
Definitely the best part of the episode. The fight choreography was pretty good. It looked good. If you pay attention, though, there were lots of moments where the guys with the swords were not aiming at her at all, and they're swinging above her head, and she goes under them. This happens several times, and she doesn't even duck. She doesn't change her position, and they swing over her. That only bothers some people. If you're like paying attention. Overall, it looked good and it was fine. I have some complaints about the fighting, but I think it served its purpose and it was entertaining.
And that is an issue with choreography. It's an issue with all shows, not just this show in particular.
Well, yeah,
I realize that I am more picky in regard to fight choreography than most people, but there are shows that do it well. Like you could have had the same motion, just show her duck under the sword instead of not move at all. But it's fine. It's fine. I'm picky.
I think
I'm with you.
That I mean, maybe I'm just not watching the right movies or shows, but I think that's the first time I've seen someone with a pregnant prosthetic doing action sequences, and if
it's definitely unique. It's definitely a unique fight scene, and I will give it props for that.
If you've ever done any acting where you have to have I mean, if they legitimately put out the casting call for we need a pregnant lady,
9 months pregnant woman,
I'm not sure
be able
how,
to do a backflip. still.
I'm not sure how realistic the fight scene is if you're pregnant. So
Yeah.
if any of our viewers are pregnant or have been pregnant, please, comment on the video. Let us know if you could do that.
And then you need to show us too, because I feel like
please provide like a clip with a link.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was good. You could definitely see that that it wasn't real, but
yeah.
But for what they were, I knew what they were doing, and I think they did it well. And it's just one of those things. Yeah, it was. It was a beautiful moment. I was so excited the moment that I saw her on screen. I knew what was happening and was just like, I'm here for this. I'm ready for it. Like, let's make this happen. Though I did want to ask about something that's maybe controversial because I've heard both sides of it. How are you feeling about the veil being off most of the time?
I would have preferred it the other way. So, I mean, and we can talk. So the audience knows what this scene is because of the end of the episode. It's Rand's mother, who is an Aiel, and the show has talked about it. The show brought it up in the scene with Tom and Matt when Matt is looting the Aiel corpse. Tom gives him a history lesson and says, you don't have to be scared of an Aiel when they're not veiled. When they fight, when they pull up their veil, it means they're going to kill you. She started off with her veil and then sat down and pulled it off and then never pulled it back up. I get it was in the heat of the moment, but it happens a lot in the books. They're like, oh, when they're fighting,
yeah, and it's almost like you don't see where it happens. It's just they're so fast at it.
And I get, you want to be able to see the actor emote. I would have preferred veil on.
Jared, thoughts?
Well, one of my favorite parts of watching it was when I was watching with my mom. She yelled out, "No capes!"
Oh yeah, when she pulls the cape.
Nice. Yeah.
So that definitely made me chuckle. But the other thing I was going to say is, I think that it was a nice choreography scene. There definitely were some parts where I was like, okay, this is definitely choreographed, but at the same time, they slow it down in parts, right? So they slow it down and they really show you a lot of the gore, right? Where they like stab it through.
It's very
gruesome. So it definitely is kind of putting this precedence of like, look, it's gonna be a violent show, right? So there's gonna be blood. There's gonna be some more gory effects.
Mm-hmm.
But that president in episode 1 with the Trollocs being ripped in half and everything.
Yeah, pretty much there. Yeah, episode 1.
Well, my thought about some of the gorier choreography. There's one point where the woman is stabbed in the side, and I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I was like, hey, is that how a cesarean section was invented in this world? Like, there you go.
He just keeps going.
Easier.
Yeah. I thought they did a really good job in this scene where, she wasn't too OP, just, kicking butt. She was kicking butt, but, it was interspersed with the good moments of her just doubling over in pain with her contractions. It's like, oh, she's not going to make it.
Yeah.
And then she just grits her teeth and, kills a few more guys.
Yeah.
So.
And for the most part, they didn't do that thing where people attack one at a time. It did a pretty good job of showing them try and attack her, or at least have fallen over while she's fighting one guy, and you see them standing up and in the back. And then
two of them attacked her at the same time with that one shot.
Yeah.
So
I wish you had both in.
It was pretty good.
Back to your point specific about the veils, though, I agree. I feel like it would have been nice to have it on the whole time just for the lore.
Yeah.
But I also think I would have missed some of the emoting, because I think that was my favorite part, was watching her face and like seeing her grimace and seeing her. This isn't a normal moment. She's in labor. There are exceptions to some of these rules.
At least they showed her with it on, and then when she sat down, she pulled it
exactly. If they hadn't had that first scene, I would have been like, what? Excuse me?
Yep.
I understand the change. Still don't like it, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I'm not that much of a prude to say the scene is bad just because she didn't have a veil. But yeah, pretty good. And it ends with some sword at her throat, which we later will revealed is Tam, which we can talk about that a little bit later. Anything else about the scene before we move on to the ways?
Yeah, I also wanted to say that it makes me really excited, right? Because I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg as far as the Aiel goes. So, like, I'm really excited to see where they.
Yeah, we've only seen 2, and one was dead.
Yeah, right.
And the other killed 10 people by themselves while pregnant and in labor. Yeah.
Well, 3 if you count Rand.
He's
True.
But he doesn't know he's an Aiel.
Yeah, well, and I think that's part of it too, right? Like where she takes off the like her hat, right? Where you can see more of the red hair. So I think they're doing little stuff like that to be like, look, this is an Aiel. They're famous for their red hair. Like, this is something that you should get used to and you should be seeing and recognizing. So, I think it was pretty well, thought out and worked pretty well.
Yeah. Okay. So we get the first scene of the real episode is they're in the ways and Matt's gone, and they're upset because they want Matt to come, and they're I've seen a lot of people online saying that in this scene they said that channeling is not possible in the ways, and that is definitely wrong. Moraine says, I'm not going to channel because, or it's not even Moraine who says it, it's Loyal who says you can't channel in here, not because it's not possible, but because it will immediately attract the Machin Shin.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people complaining about inconsistency on this episode, and they're wrong. Because you can channel, you just shouldn't because it's stupid.
You shouldn't.
Yeah, to that point though, and that's one of the parts that I hated about the ways is because they mentioned that. Okay, so if we think about it purely on what they've set up based on what we've seen in the episodes, you have to channel to open up the ways, but you can't channel in the ways. So you essentially go in and then you can't get out because you can't channel to get out.
Or you shouldn't channel.
Or you shouldn't channel.
Well, I get but the idea is that you can channel as you're about to leave. Open the gate.
But. So it still seems a little contradictory how they've set it up in their episode. However, I will say though that Nathan actually pointed out some of the pictures from the bonus content that showed some of it showed the leaf that is in the books. So I just wish that we could see something like that in the episode to explain more of how that works, instead of saying, hey, it's solely about using the one power. Oh, another inconsistency with that.
They kind of hint at there might be another way to open the gate with showing someone walking out of it who's not an Aes Sedai.
Well, yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say, is that essentially they've also, just what they've said is, hey, they've showed, hey, you have to use the one power to get in. But then there's people that we assume, the merchant, right? Bane, who walks out of it, who probably doesn't have the one power, right? So how did he get in? How did the Trollocs get in, right? So it's kind of like, I don't know. So as far as what they've been telling us, I have been a little confused as a book reader, even been like, wait, I don't get how this works.
Yeah. Knowing how it works in the books, and then it I don't know if it's confusing for non-book readers, but I'm confused as to what rules they're trying to establish.
If there's multiple rules or if there's just the one. And
is it confusing to you, David?
Well, I just assumed that there was other ways, even though it didn't show anything. I would have preferred, having heard your explanation, that the Ogiers are the ones that basically constructed the gate, so they have a way of opening it. I would have preferred that was shown in the show, because it would make more sense. So far, Moraine just said, hey, we need you on this journey, but for what? He's just, and anybody else notice he kind of disappears once they get to the city? We never see him again.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about it. He does disappear.
After they talk to the crow dude, whatever, in that throne room scene, he's gone. You never see him again in the episode.
Well,
so
we needed.
Why is he even part of this party? But it would have made a sense if Moraine needed his help to open the way gate.
One guiding stone, though. That one guiding stone.
Yes. Yeah, he had to interpret the Sheikah guiding stone. But yeah, I don't know.
Having just read that part, I mean, like when I was introduced to Loyal in the book, I was like, this is a great character. He's fantastic, and he does definitely have a much more involved purpose in the ways during the Eye of the World. And I think it kind of ties into kind of something that I at least reading the first book has been my issue is there's like these good moments, and obviously for a book, like you can spend time on it and everything, but then in the show they just rush through like kind of some interesting things. I was expecting this whole episode to be mostly in the ways because and like do some of the, I think they could have done some of the character development in the ways because it takes more time to journey through it. Like I mean, since time flows differently in there, it feels like a couple of days to them, and they could have done some of the stuff they did at the city in there, but
then they'd have to make more of that set.
Yeah.
So you can't tell that they're just walking like this way and that way, filmed in different directions.
Well, they could have been having that character development in, when they were camped out and Loyal was reading the Waystone.
Mm-hmm.
That whole conversation that they had in that dining room area, I thought was really good. They could have moved that in the ways. Would have been more dramatic.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I thought it was interesting how they were in the ways and then they're out. They pushed a Trolloc and then ran from
a single Trolloc.
Shadow.
Yeah, a single Trolloc. Should have been more than
Trolloc.
Should have been more than one Trolloc. This comment's interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and watch the episode. But they're saying that the channeling that Moraine does to open the gate is in the shape of a leaf. So
yeah, that is interesting.
I'll go. I have to go back and see if that's true. Loyal went straight to the library, apparently.
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, that's where I guess to find him.
That makes sense. One thing I would like to point out, I don't know, skipping ahead a little bit, but we talked about how Moraine was weaving in the shape of a leaf. It's interesting that Nynaeve, when she's using her powers, touching the one power, whatever, her weaving does not look like the typical weaving with the strands going. It's more like a ball of energy. I thought that was interesting. Both times that she used and exploded into this ball of energy. My wife was saying everyone else is weaving, she's crocheting. But I don't know if there's something that ties in with the lore or whatnot, but it's something I noticed. Her weaving looked different.
Yeah. I mean, Alan was worried about this earlier, that they're going to use her as a Mary Sue and just solve other problems.
Yeah.
Which they have a little. But she isn't trained at all, right? So she's just forcing it, and that's probably why you're not seeing the same finesse in actual weaves that are happening.
Yeah, I'll bring that up at the end because I can't talk about it for this segment. But
I think that's a great observation.
I'm afraid that she's becoming too much of a Mary Sue. Yes.
Time will tell.
Yeah. But I wanted to talk about like the design of the ways. The look of the stones is it's copying a naturally occurring phenomenon called columnar joined basalt, which is super freaking cool. It's not man-made. Yeah. It's a real volcanic. It's so freaking cool. You got to Google it. Google columnar joined basalt. It is
Ireland.
Like uncanny valley. You'll experience the uncanny valley in real life because it looks man-made and it's completely made by nature. And I think that's an interesting way to take the ways, in that, like, yes, the ways were made by man, but like by Ogier, who use nature. to make things. And you see that in the bonus content too, that like they can kind of, you know, do magic on trees to turn it into something else.
Yeah, interesting.
I did like I thought the design of the waves was cool. Having just read it, I imagined it just as a black void, though, and I think the addition of thunder and flashes of lightning makes sense for a visual medium to kind of add some variety to what you're looking at.
I kind of wish there were more like Escher-esque aspects.
Oh yeah,
which is cool. What, you know, even if you're doing this design, which I understand and I don't have any like real qualms with,
that would be a lot more work.
Yeah,
it would be amazing.
But I feel like it would make it seem really unruly, unearthly,
and it would make sense why you would need a navigator.
Yeah, because right now all we're seeing is like, oh, here's a single path that they're following.
Yeah, it looked like there weren't even any branches, right? Like,
yeah. So if I have one criticism about the ways specifically and how it was designed, I would say, yeah, like more Escher-esque, like more actual physical environments you're making, and then supplement with the CGI in the background, because otherwise it's just not quite giving us that what I need anyways.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. There, and then I have a note. When with the guiding stone that's defaced and Loyal asks for patience, Rand's line,
yes.
If he's asking for patience, we're all gonna die. I will bet my next born child that line was written for Matt.
Oh yeah.
I feel like
it really felt out of place coming from Rand. I liked the line, and I'm like, he's not the one who cracks jokes.
I feel like there were several moments in this episode where I thought there was a different scene here that they had to like really improvise these scenes, because there was not a character that there should be.
There's no Matt.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that, but I did like the line, and I did think they did a pretty good job addressing that Matt wasn't there and he made his choice, and then especially when they get to the city, she turns the red Aja on him, you know. Tell him to go looking for him. I thought that was all very well done, explaining his absence in the show.
So can I ask a question for you guys who might be following the behind the scenes a bit more? Is the reason why Matt didn't go through the gate related to the recasting of the actor for season 2?
We talked about that last week. That's exactly
so why. They filmed the episodes in order, and they got to episode 6 and had to take a break because of the COVID stuff. And he could not come back when they started filming again for whatever reason. They haven't said. So they had to recast him. That being said, and I think we can talk about this now, kind of going back to episode 6. I don't love how they handled Matt leaving. When it first happened, I thought, my brain was turning, and I kept thinking, okay, what are they going to be having Matt do instead during the finale? And my theory was he's going to have an adventure with Pod on Fane, and the rest of the people are going to have an adventure at the Eye of the World. And now we know that that's not the case. He's not going to be present in these next 2 episodes, and it kind of makes me feel like the show kind of just like crapped all over his character, because it would have he's a coward now, right? And that's definitely not his personification in the books. He's like the loyal guy. He doesn't want to be a hero.
He'd complain about it, but he'd be there.
He never says no, right? And he always is reluctantly thrown into the line of fire and ends up doing something awesome.
Yeah.
This makes him look like a coward, and I would have preferred if they just said he's still sick, he can't come, than to have him choose to leave. I don't like it. And I didn't realize I didn't like it until I found out that he doesn't have anything to do in the finale.
Yeah.
Can I chime in with a recent book one reading? While I was listening to book one, Alan, I texted you and I asked, am I supposed to hate Matt as much as I do? And that was during the part where like he had just stolen the knife from the city, and like I didn't realize, which is revealed in episode 6, that it's a curse and he was being corrupted. And then this week, when I got to the part where I finally learned that, he like reverts back to normal, and he's kind of back to his old self, but with some consequences for that. And like, and now I'm like, okay, all right, I like to see where I'm going with this character, but with this, I kind of agree with you. It's like the character is just gone now, like, and making him just not go through the gate takes a whole different direction for the character that isn't super great.
I really wonder what they're going to try to do in season 2, because that was a really deliberate choice.
Well, and then Moraine's choice in this episode too, just handing him over to the Red Aja.
Well, and she mentions too the darkness inside him too, right? They make that a really big part of it, that he was feeding off the knife just as much as the knife was feeding off of him. And so there's some stuff here that I feel like they have a plan, as like stupid as that sounds. And it's not a great way for him to leave, and it really sucks because of the circumstances.
Yeah.
But I don't think I can really judge it until season 2, when they have the new actor and they do that retrospective, right? Where, Waygate's closing and now we're going to show what I was going through. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, I don't know. But I am worried.
Yeah.
So, because Matt is,
he's such a good character.
And a lot of people's favorite character. So, then we get to see the Machin Shin. It's a change. I'm okay with it because I think it better differentiates Machin Shin from Mashadar. And if you've been watching my channel, for my entire reading of the books the first time, I thought that they were the same thing, and I only recently realized after doing Googling that they were two different things.
Yeah.
I like that they're very different from each other.
I thought it was interesting because Machin Shin, and also they're kind of described as having the same consequences as Mastodar, but also you go mad. Like they talk about people who come out of the ways and they're just mad. They've gone crazy.
Or just vacant.
Yeah, and so some of that makes sense to me, that maybe they're saying, hey, they're going mad because they're doing this inner dialogue, and that's the first part, and then it progresses from there. Does that make sense? But so I don't think it's really too much of a departure from the source material, but it isn't specifically how I saw it in the book. But it was interesting. It was very visual, which you have to do.
Yeah. And like insect-esque makes sense for like, it's like a thing that like gets inside your head, like crawls in, and and the actual words that it speaks to the characters, it's a little like in the books, it's more just like kind of crazy, like a gnaw on the bones and chew the marrow, and
it's very
suck on the sinews, gnashing of teeth, kind of like. But this is like more specific, like tailored to each character, finding their fears and exploiting them. I don't know. I'm curious to see if the show is trying to say that these visions are true, like if the Machin Shin can kind of see the future, or if it's just internal fears. Because we do find out that like half of the stuff it says is spot on. Right? We've got Moraine saying, you're wrong about everything. You'll murder the children and call it heroism. Egwene's told you're nothing, you're an imposter and a fraud. Probably the least interesting one. Rand says Egwene will never love you as much as you love her. She left you once, she'll do it again. Perrin is told that he wanted his wife dead, and out
because
of
he
the
loves
way,
someone else.
he killed her because he loves someone else more than her. Lan's told you'll watch her die. You can't protect her. Is it talking about Moraine or Nynaeve? I don't know. Nynaeve is told the most. You'll hear their screams as they die, like your parents. You'll do nothing to say. You can do nothing to save them. You lost Matt, and you'll lose the others one by one until you have nothing. You can't protect them. And Loyal doesn't hear anything apparently.
Well, it's because his would be like, "You will be," and then it was over. So it wouldn't have shown that.
He's just gonna
we didn't have enough time to go into his fears that the Washington was telling him.
Yeah, or it's like, oh no, your library's on fire.
This might be
You got a
moderate
fact wrong.
spoiler.
You've been telling people facts wrong.
It might be a moderate spoiler, but the Machin tells Loyal, you have to get married now.
I did like though that it's in their own voice. Did you guys notice that? It
was kind of
own voice, which was kind of cool.
And it kind of overlapped and like went in and out as it went for each character. Like,
yeah,
I like that. Yeah, it was a cool sound design.
I do think it was more just fears though, or like they see the truths that or the things they're telling themselves, and
so
just
it makes sense that some of them are true. Yeah, sure.
I think Perrin's goes the most with that. Like, that's the most tangible evidence we have, because he has spent time with Egwene in the series, and like, he definitely traumatized, and maybe he's starting to feel things for Egwene there. And we also get more on that.
Well, yeah. Let's talk about that now, even though it comes up later, because they talk. I mean, the scene.
Yeah, because that's what I think is. I don't think that was supposed to be for Perrin. I think they made this
for Matt
as a point of conflict or for Matt.
No, you're wrong.
I think it's a point of conflict, and I'm just like, why did you add this scene and it's not needed at all?
It's stupid. The love triangle is stupid. The fact that they're trying to say that Perrin likes Egwene is really dumb, but it was not intended for Matt, because if you watch episode 1, he comes back from the inn with talking with Rand after Egwene's ceremony ends, and his wife is mad at him, and he says you didn't even go to her ceremony. So it's been hinting that his wife kind of knows he once had a crush on Egwene since episode 1. And then there's kind of some stuff with them as they're traveling. And then this episode with the fears, and then Nynaeve just saying, hey, you both had a crush on her. It's not in the books, and I don't think it adds anything. In fact, I think it lessens from the impact of him killing his wife, which is also not in the books, but a change that I kind of like. If he's in love with Egwene, then why would he be as... I feel like it lessens the impact that they tried to give us in episode 1 of him accidentally killing his wife. Well, he didn't love her anyway. He loves Egwene more. So why does he care?
I said this the last time I came on. I hate all the lovey stuff between all these people, because it's like Moraine's like, listen, the end of the world is coming, and one of you is gonna like bring it about, and then the rest of you are probably gonna die, but you're all gonna come anyways. And then it's like Egwene is like, oh, I told you I'd find you, and oh, I'm mad at you. And Nynaeve is like, hey, Lan, how you doing? And it's like the gravity of the situation should kind of, I think, take away from playing hide the Heron Mark sword with each other.
Wow.
It's a good one. That's a good one.
Thank you. I'm proud. I just came up with that. I think it takes away, and maybe it's just my own preference, but in book 1, with them being younger and having less experience with romance, they kind of take on this responsibility that's thrust upon them.
Right.
And it's very much more kind of the classic, hero's journey, reluctant to do what they did, but like it makes for more noble characters instead of, oh, I'm doing this because I love you. It's a little too Twilight for me, instead of like the characters having more altruistic motivations, which with a series of this scope, I think is a bit better.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know where this viewer has gotten this idea, but that's interesting that Lila's a dark friend. I will say, yeah, I think the romance is a little like CW for me. I'm okay with what they've done with Lan and Nynaeve. I think Nynaeve's a little bit too forward in this episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's fine. It's fine. It doesn't bother me that much. But I don't like the other romances. And my wife absolutely loves Lan and Nynaeve. I think Lan is her favorite character. So she's liking that so far. But she hates Egwene with a passion.
Really?
She's like, she's like, I don't know if it's the actress or the lines they're giving her. I just don't like her character.
Yeah.
And she kept saying like, does Moraine know they're having sex?
She's masking it 100%. That first little bit, she's like, oh, and then she masked it. Unless Moraine's like a voyeur. We don't know. Maybe she's into that. I feel like that was so inappropriate that I said that. How dare I disrespect this character?
Okay. I see where this theory is going. Sorry to jump ship. So they're saying that his wife was about to kill him when he swung the axe at her. That could be his like wolfy instincts, kind of. Maybe. I don't know.
Good theories, but in the chat by both Roger and Ima, which is a very unique name. Ima, I think that's a good. I never heard a name like that.
That's a good name. Yeah, I do think that would be a really good reveal later down the line if we find out. I don't know how that would go into the story organically. Maybe we find someone who
knew that she was. I don't know.
Who knew? Put her on the mission to kill Perrin or something. I don't know. That would be interesting.
I don't think so. I mean, because she's been in the Two Rivers her whole life, apparently, right? I don't know.
It doesn't mean you can't.
It'd be hard to
deep undercover.
Yeah, we'll see.
Before we moved on, I did want to say I don't have an issue with the relationships. I don't like the love triangle.
Yeah,
I think it's the dumbest thing. In fact, when Nynaeve made that line, when she said that line, she's like, "You're fighting over." I was like, so confused. It's like, who is she talking? What is?
Yeah, I thought that came out of nowhere.
I was like, what are you? And then it just kept going, and
I don't understand.
Yeah.
What does it add? I don't think it doesn't add
it
anything.
Adds
I think
conflict
only
so that he can get mad and she can get mad and they can leave and go introspect like by themselves and then come back later.
Yeah, but they could have gotten mad over their trust of Moraine or
and that's where
anything else.
That's where I think that the love triangle was like made because Matt isn't there anymore. So Matt would have maybe had some smarky comment or something and cause some conflict or whatever. But
maybe
I do like Nynaeve and Lan. I think they're doing that really well.
Yeah.
And if you think that you're gonna die and it's at the end of the world, you are 100% gonna go like chicka wow wow.
Yeah.
So I don't have any.
Bad for Perrin. He's the only one that didn't get any tail before the finale. Right?
I mean,
he had a wife.
We didn't show him getting any tail.
Maybe. I mean, there's wolves. Hey, woo! They started licking his leg. I don't. To see cut away from that. I don't know.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Well, actually, on that note, I did like on that note with the wolves and Perrin and the wolves. I liked how they showed that he could see in the dark. I thought that was a great point. Going kind of back to the ways, just to throw that in there.
Oh yeah.
Maybe not legs and where that was going, but.
Hot parent ship confirmed.
That's good too.
Weirdly, I'm like, okay. Yeah. Most of it happened. Oh wait, I guess I can't say spoilers. Never mind.
I know.
I almost went there. So moving on. I'm so sorry.
Okay, so to get to Faldara, right? Because Nynaeve does a big ball thing, and I really like the look of the city. I think it looks almost like a dwarven fortress.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. And I like how imposing Tarwin's Gap looks in front of or behind the city. Yeah. That is the canyon that goes into the Blight.
Can I also add, architecturally speaking?
Oh, okay, sure.
That
we all know what kind of architecture you like.
Well, we're not going to go that specific.
Was it too flat for you?
What I was going to say is I think it's interesting because you can clearly see Faldara as like a desert, right?
Yeah.
And so Faldara, a lot of the materials you see them use with the buildings are brick and stone, right? Things that you would find in a desert.
Yeah, you're not going to have wood.
Yeah, right, exactly. So you're not going to have those sorts of things because you're in a desert. So I thought that was cool because you could kind of see these different materials, how it plays into the region that they're supposed to be set in, right?
Right.
So I think they've thought about that a lot.
I was going to comment kind of along the way of the world building and stuff. A lot of the extras were, I mean, and I'm not an expert, kind of Middle Eastern, Asian, more Asian looking, whereas we kind of had a more European feel in the other settings up there, which I really like about the series so far is that it is a big melting pot, but then the different locations are distinct from each other.
Yeah, they're definitely going for these guys are Asian-ish.
And I think they do it well. So it's not so it does still seem like a different world, right? Yeah. It's not just they're like filming on location somewhere.
It's not like, oh, this is a copy of Japan, but
yeah, it's really good.
It's unique in its own way.
Another thing that I think we've talked on this before, but I think especially in this episode too, the costuming in this show is amazing. Like they're doing a really good job with the costumes. The only one that
please tell me we're going to talk about the same one because I had a note about that too. That was like
the thigh pocket things. Yeah, no, the bird person was great, but when they're I think his was walking down the hall.
Sister, Lady Emelisa.
Her shoulder things.
No,
not even that.
Was fine. It's the bottom half. Yeah, it's those big bulges on the thighs or what? I don't know.
It was like a dress, and then she had like shorts on underneath.
Yeah, it was really weird.
I did not.
Top half was great. No. Bottom half was like, what is going on?
And I get like you're in the because I thought this through and I was like, okay, you're in the Borderlands. Everyone fights here. You're not going to want to wear a dress. I get it. You still want to be a lady. So you're going to wear a half dress. But why are you wearing shorts underneath? Like, I don't know. It just was the weirdest.
I'll have to go
costume
back and look
design, and I couldn't. In some of those scenes, it was hard for me to concentrate because I kept being like, "What is happening?"
He made sure to point it out to us as well.
I did too. The third time we watched
it. So I know that because I watched it like 4 times. That lady is the king's sister.
Yeah.
But in my notes, I have her written down as "lady with a smug look." because we're introduced to Uno and who's the I can't remember the other guy's name, Masima, and then we go into the chamber and it immediately zooms in on her face and she does a.
I didn't realize that was Uno and Masima either. Does it actually say their names?
No, it doesn't say their names, but we know that one of them's Uno because he's got an eye patch.
You're right.
If you pause the movie, the episode. And then push up, I think, on Amazon Prime.
It tells you
all the characters that are in that scene.
I don't do that, David. I'm a purist. I want to experience it and see what I do.
Intentionally. I just pause it and then I notice, that's that character's name, or that's how you spell that interesting name.
Okay. But then we're introduced to Birdsuit guy, who's called the Black Hawk. Agomar. Lord Agomar. I don't know if I like his bird suit or not. I'm on the fence still. It didn't look like a hawk. It looked like a bunch of ravens just like stapled to his back for me, but
kind of.
Because hawks aren't usually black, but it's okay. It's fine.
The Blackhawk is.
I
Yeah.
know.
In this
I
world,
thought it was a
apparently.
raven at first, or something.
Yeah, me
A little
too.
big for a raven.
But I thought the scene was good. I thought the interaction between Moraine and him was pretty solid. Some fun stuff happening there.
Yeah.
There was a big sigh, Alan.
I
Tell us
know.
what was wrong with this episode, this scene.
Okay,
What's wrong,
Lord Agamar.
fellas?
Okay, so I've been very positive on this show. Okay, and I understand in adaptation you have to make changes, and I've already given that huge speech. And throughout almost every episode, I've said the changes that they're making make sense to me. I understand why they're doing this. It's so that they can and you have to make changes. I do not like how they changed Lord Agelmar, and I do not think it adds anything to the show. I think it is a bad thing. Lord Agelmar in the show is the polar opposite of Agelmar in the books.
I just read that part where they get to this city in the book too, and he is like super like, oh my gosh, you're here, and like that was one thing I felt was kind of different too, and kind of lacking was like Moraine and Lan, like their reputation in this city is like they're like legends to these people. And like everyone is like, saluting them and like shouting.
Yeah, Lan is a literal legend.
Yeah. And like here, like he's like, you think you can tell me what to do? And like, and the other thing, he was like, yo, you're here. Can we go wreck some crap together? Like
he's literally the polar
right.
opposite.
Like we'll go to
in
to
the
Turning
books,
Death right now.
Agelmar is like a broken man because he's been manning the gap for years with no assistance. And when Moraine and Lan show up, he is like overcome with emotion because he thought that they were there to help. And he says, will you come to the I was about to send my people off in a last battle to their deaths, but since you're here, we might have hope. And he's the polar opposite in the show. He's a misogynist, he's arrogant, and he's literally just the trope that happens all the time of the leader who's in charge, who's incompetent, and sends his people to their death because he's dumb.
I mean, I don't know if I get that out of it specifically. I'd like to hear more. He's
arrogant.
About
He's
that.
saying, we don't need your help.
Yeah,
We've been doing
he's
this
arrogant
by ourselves
and
for years.
Yeah, but where are you saying that he's incompetent and he's sending his people to his death? That's what I'm asking.
Because
that plot point didn't come up in the book.
It's going to because we know that the dark forces
show.
are getting stronger and stronger.
Right. And he's for sure like arrogant and stupid. I want to preface this. I didn't remember him specifically from the book and his characterization.
He's a great character in the books.
So I didn't have an issue with this. And when you tell me like the changes, I'm like, yeah, that sucks. I wish that they had kept it. I don't see that last part of what you said. Yeah, he's arrogant. He's stupid. I thought it was a funny moment. I don't think they're showing that things are as desperate as they are maybe in the books at this point. And maybe that's the difference. Like, he's saying that we actually are doing okay. We don't need your help, but maybe they do more than they realize.
I didn't
but
like it.
That's where I'm like, I don't know if I'd say he's incompetent at this point. I'm going to give him another chance.
I think that's what they're going for. I think they're going to be like, oh, he's going to send his people to their death because he was refusing help.
If that happens, I 100% agree. That's the dumbest thing I've ever.
Because that's a common trope. You get the leader who's just too proud to admit he needs help, and his people suffer because of it. I guarantee. I have a gut feeling that's what they're doing with him, and because they were already showing him. Yeah, let me guess. You're here because my dumb old sister, who's a woman and I hate women, she probably wrote to the White Tower and said that we need help at the Gap. I'm like, I like it.
Yeah. Can I comment on something that Nathan said? The sense of desperation.
He does apologize. Sorry.
That's what I get in The Eye of the World. Is they comment heavily on how like the winter has been long and like crops aren't growing and people everywhere are like suspicious of each other and
Yeah.
like bad things are happening. I get that in the quest of the main characters and like the Aes Sedai, but it seems like in the show they're the only ones that feel like something bad is.
Yeah, I don't think
Aside-
they've showed any of that yet, and I think that's
Yes.
probably going to be a plot point for other seasons. And it's kind of smart that they're not, because that way they can really show these things happening. Like, oh, season one's kind of a baseline. Things are like not great. You know, there's war. There's stuff happening.
The
But-
false dragon.
Yeah, but then they can actually show things getting kind of desperate and awful. So I agree. I don't think I see that in this season at all, really, except what they mentioned about the war.
So, the next scene is we see Podon Fane coming out of the ways, and he's whistling. I like how they're giving him a
Great musical cues.
what?
I just have critiques on this one. I think it's nice.
Yeah. What's
I
your
feel like they needed to edit it. This is my concern, because there's a moment in the ways where Egwene wakes up and hears him whistling.
Yes.
That's all you needed. You did not need to show him in the
too
ways.
much. Too much.
Later-
Yeah, and well, there's also a flash of lightning, and you
Yeah.
see a silhouette. For like a
And you
split second.
see him pretty clearly, and I'm like, what? No. And then later, it's this scene where you literally see him walk out of the ways. First, it shows his boots, which I'm like, okay, we don't know who
Then
this
you-
is.
then
It's
you
fine.
see
But then you
him-
see his whole character.
And then in
So-
the two scenes later, you see his face very briefly.
Yeah, so they're doing
And they
this like,
call him out.
oh,
Yeah.
Is he here? Is he not here? I'm like, yeah, he's here. It's not even subtle that he's here. We know he's here.
Yeah. his
So that's
whistling-
my critique.
I like his whistling motif. I think showing him come out of the ways is probably a little bit too much. But
Yeah.
again, I've read the books and I know that he's been following the party. Maybe for non-book, maybe for dum dums. I don't know.
Well,
No,
I'm just like,
I'm joking, but
show
is
the
it-
whistling, show
David.
the boots, and then later have that scene where Perrin's like, hey, I think that's got. I mean, that's all you needed.
Yeah.
Everything else is overkill.
I want
and
to
I
give him
hate
David because we know that Podon Fane's following.
That's
him.
true. Yeah, David,
What,
whatever
is
you
it too
think.
much? Is it too much, David?
Our
Our resident ignoramus.
Thank you very much.
And I
As
don't
the
mean that in
resident-
the fact that David is stupid, but he is ignorant of the books.
ignorant
Okay.
of the entire plot line of the series. Yeah, I thought it was strange too, because we saw him.
Okay,
We
Then-
saw him in
that's a
Tarvalin,
valid point.
and he was just there, and I noticed him then. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then when we saw him in the ways and it flashed, and like, oh, that's that same character. There's something else to him. And then
Yeah.
they just like bash you over the
I
head.
know they're
It's
like,
okay, he's here. He's coming out of the gate, and then he passes
been
by.
really
And I'm like,
subtle.
oh, there he is again. That's kind of
Yeah.
cool. And then they call it out, like, hey, I thought that was Padden Fane. It was like, come on, just let him walk
it's-
by.
Trust
can
the
look.
viewer, right?
He
Yeah,
can look
I-
and be like,
I
that's
re-
interesting, but not call it out. He's like, so I don't know.
I really hate it when in TV shows and movies where they do exposition and dialogue like that, where they feel like the audience is stupid and they have to be
Yeah.
like, hey,
Yeah.
hey, audience, just so you know, this is this, or I hate that so much, and I feel like there was such a potential here with the whistling and then maybe the boots, and then later you show him where Perrin kind of calls it out, and
It
maybe
definitely
people
would have
who
been
don't
more
know
rewarding
things.
for people
Yeah, then maybe
caught
people who
the
don't
details.
know things or aren't as sharp-sighted could be like, oh my gosh, right? But
Right.
otherwise, it was so heavy-handed. I was,
Yeah.
ugh.
I think
hated it.
the whistling in the Waygate in the ways was good. I think they probably shouldn't have shown his full silhouette with the lightning in the ways. And when he exits the ways, he should have just shown his boots and starting
Yep.
to walk off, not
I
show
agree.
the full thing. And then in the city, we pass, we see his face, and he looks, and then he looks back kind of confused, and nothing. You don't like bring up.
Yeah,
I
don't
mean,
even-
even
in
don't
that
even have the line
moment-
of dialogue, maybe.
Even in that moment, I think that the dialogue would be fine, because at that point, you've been subtle enough. If we haven't
Maybe,
got
yeah.
it, then that could have been a revelation to someone who doesn't.
or you
very
could say,
least-
I thought I saw someone. No,
Exactly.
It's
It's like,
impossible.
no, it
Yeah.
couldn't
Don't
be.
say his name, maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I also think Nynaeve's response in that moment also is overkill. Like, oh no, He's
oh no,
dead.
you dumb boy! Dumb boy!
He was at Zeltine when all the Trollocs attacked.
You know who else was there when all the Trollocs attacked?
Hey,
Nynaeve.
Baron, you remember that day you killed your wife? The rest of us were busy paying attention to Podon Fane also dying. Okay.
Also, very clearly,
David
ahead,
made a good point. Nynaeve was carried off, and everyone thought she was dead.
Yeah,
Right.
how did she know Podon Fane was dead?
But
She
there's
wasn't
no
there.
possible way that anybody else could have escaped, you know.
Yeah, it was
No
definitely
one
not
could be
very
as
well.
strong as me.
But yeah,
I'm
he
the
should have
only
just.
one who could have escaped.
I agree, Alan. He should have just said, "I thought I saw."
Yeah.
Never
No,
mind.
it's impossible.
You
I
know.
did have something that's related to that though. Later on, it's not because later when Moraine is on the balcony and she's talking to Lan, there's this nice moment where she kind of looks out into the distance and she's a little like concerned looking, and he says, "What is it?" And then she kind of hesitates and says, "It's nothing."
She said, "Oh, the air here is
And
it's different air when I breathe it into my lungs."
but in my head I was like, she's like feeling him. Maybe she's feeling him and she doesn't know what it is. She's not like sure what it is, but she's sensing something. She's sensing him in the city.
I don't know.
And
There
maybe
wasn't any
that's what
whistling in that scene, so
Yeah.
She didn't like name drop him.
Well, why would she have like a feeling connection to Podon Fane, or would she just?
Well, because I said I can feel dark, like
Okay.
things in the dark, right?
you can feel the darkness in Matt.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that's where I'm like, maybe she's sensing this thing happening.
But yeah, I agree. It was a
Okay,
little
I got to write
heavy-handed,
this
just
down then
cameos.
because I can't ask it now. As okay, I will ask that later. So let's we get what's going on in the show. Where are we? Podon Fane. The way Moraine rats out Matt to the Red Aja. I think that's too far. I don't like it.
Sorry, I missed that.
The next scene is Moraine sending a message to the Red Aja to go get Rand. I mean, to go get
Matt.
I don't know if I like her character doing that.
I mean, again, I don't know what's happening.
I know.
We don't know what they're going to do to try to like retcon this. So
But-
I just appreciate the fact that they're putting something in, and it shows me that they have thought about like, hey, how are we going to fix this? We know this sucks.
But the
What are we gonna
implication is that she like, okay, if Rand, she doesn't know who the dragon is yet. If it's Matt, he's too corrupted. I'm going to sick the Red Aja on him so that he gets stilled, so that the Dark One can't have him.
Well, she has said
That
you
she
know,
would rather kill them herself than give them over to the Dark One.
I think
have them join his side.
I think that those lines of dialogue are enough characterization to where now that she, he's away and she can't watch him, it's like, hey, well, this is the next best thing I can do. And I know I think it adds to her sense of duty and like getting stuff done, that even though we see the tension she has with the Red Aja in previous episodes, she still knows that they're the ones to go to take care of this problem.
I agree, because I don't think I saw it as like her ratting him out as a maybe the Dragon Reborn, right? I just thought it seemed like she needed to make sure he was found, and who's the best one to do that?
Okay,
so
I agree.
Again, I don't know what's
having,
happening. Oh, wait.
Me having not knowing Matt's full character arc, and then but knowing the the troubles that they've had with the casting of the show, I thought it was really well done that they were addressing his absence, and he's not just gone from the story forever. I thought it was really well done, but like I said, I don't know if that messes up anything in the future. We'll see.
I think
we don't know yet.
I think seeing him in season 2, he will have already been captured and new casting healed changes his face.
Yep.
I'm hoping they have that moment where it shows like from his perspective Waygate.
With a different actor.
Yeah, honestly, I don't really care. He's like a white man with a beard, and they look pretty similar to me.
The casting is pretty good, but
they can just deep fake it too, you know.
I kind of want his healing to explain away the change of his face. But that's me.
Yeah, we'll see how they do that.
Okay, so the Reds. Then we get Pot on Fane again. We already talked about it. Then we go to the inn or the bar where Min's character is introduced, but we also have a kind of a nice moment between all of the kids where they just talk for a bit, and that was nice.
Yeah,
because they have all been kind of sidelined. But I like how Perrin brings up the Way of the Leaf.
Yeah,
he's like, you can see he's kind of like, oh, I kind of like that because killing is a bad thing.
Yeah, I like the scene because they're kind of filling each other in on what they missed, while they were away and everything. Yeah, catching up. I thought that was really good.
I like how Nynaeve's the one who's like, look at that shady Aes Sedai over there. What's she doing?
Yeah,
keep an eye on her.
Yeah, so she's talking to Min, and Min is a seer who can see that she's not. They say in the show. They say it in the show. She can't channel, right?
No,
no, they haven't.
Well, they said they sent her to the White Tower. So, but
yeah, I think it's implied she doesn't channel.
Yeah, it's implied like, oh, she's got something, and it's not actually channeling. It's like a vision thing. So she sees visions. Do we need to talk about their visions for all of the? Yeah, let's do it. So she sees Perrin with golden eyes and blood running down his chin.
Which was very, very well done, I thought.
Yeah.
I wish they had done it more like that in the actual moment. It was like in that other episode.
Yeah. The golden eyes were better here than they were when we saw them in person. We see Rand holding a baby, and Min says she doesn't know whose baby it is.
Because it just looks like a baby. I liked that. It's a baby.
And then she says, well, what about the two girls? And we don't know which is which, but she says a white flame and a ring of gold for the girls.
I feel like we can talk about that later, probably with spoilers for the whole thing. But
yeah, I'm copying.
I have notes on that.
I'm copying and pasting these.
Full notes on what those two mean. I think they're pretty obvious.
And then she has a vision for Moraine as well, saying that the Amerlin seat will be Moraine's downfall. Dressed in full regalia, the Amerlin seat.
She doesn't say Sanche specifically, though, which is an interesting.
I noticed that.
Yeah, so let me copy and paste that one too. Okay, so then we get the CW scene where it's a love triangle. And it's stupid as heck.
Never even liked Matt.
Although I thought the dialogue before
with Moraine,
they call out Moraine, and then after she leaves and they're kind of discussing their motivations, that was amazing.
And she tells them, "Hey, you're gonna die if you're not the dragon."
So that was interesting. I did not see that coming, and then they're kind of just discussing the implications of their decision or what they want to do, and they're like, I don't know, we're gonna have to mull it over, and then the love triangle thing comes out of left field. They're like, wait, what?
Okay, but that brings up another thing that has bothered me in hindsight now. Okay, Moraine's plan, because Swan had a vision. Swan had a vision that the Dark One is weak at the Eye of the World, and it's possible that they could kill him. They don't know who the dragon is, but they're going to send all of the kids there. All of them are going to die, except for except for the dragon, who will be able to kill the Dark One because he's weak at the Eye of the World. Okay. The opening scene for the show is narrated by Moraine's character, and what does she say? She says, "The world was broken by men." Because they were arrogant and stupid. In their arrogance, they thought they could cage the Dark One, and instead it broke the world. Which seems like a dumber plan to you. Hey, let's see if we can trap the Dark One in a prison. Or, hey, let's take some kids who don't know anything and kill the Dark One? Which plan is more arrogant?
Yep.
I mean, but that doesn't. It's the book too. It doesn't make sense in the book, really. Like, why are these kids going? You say they're imported. I don't think it mentions the dragon at all. That one of them is going to be the dragon in the books.
Am I wrong?
To address on the arrogance, I mean, if the whole thing is time is circular and people are reincarnated, I think you can kind of see that as Moraine speaking in this moment is standing in for the Aes Sedai, who have expressed this. The men messed up and they were arrogant and trapped the dragon, but now we have a better plan, and it's actually them who are arrogant now, thinking that they know better.
Yeah.
And if it were, we've got this theme of cyclical stuff happening and the wheel moving on. I think that's it's a bad plan. That doesn't mean
we also
the other
kind of
bad.
have a theme in the show now of just emasculating all of the male characters.
Yeah, and that goes to the fact that they should have been training all of them,
which goes back to the fact that I don't think the secret of the Dragon Reborn was worth it.
Right.
Because it takes away from they could have been training the whole. Yeah.
Well, they could have been training everyone. Say, look, we don't know who the dragon is, but they still haven't explained how to channel. They haven't explained any of that. So they could explain what weaving is and how to channel and how.
But the girls don't need to be explained how to channel. They can just figure it out because they are. They already have.
Okay, but they haven't explained. Saying it would have been a good opportunity for the characters in the show to explain to the audience how the magic works. That's one thing we still haven't gotten, is explaining how the weaving works.
Yes.
And it would have been a really good opportunity to train all of them on how the weaving works and train them in combat as well.
Just in case they might be the dragon, right?
Yeah, and we finally got some of that. Rand was, practicing his bows and arrows, but it was by himself. It should have been like Lan taking them under the wing, saying, "Hey, look, this is how you handle the sword. This is how you do whatever." And then happens like, "This is how we weave."
There's a lot of training in the books, which is non-existent.
Again, because of the desire to fit one book into 8 episodes.
I was just thinking that, Tanner. Yeah. We just needed more episodes. Literally,
we need 10 or 12 episodes. This is
I do know Rafe wanted more episodes, and Amazon told him no.
Damn you, Amazon.
So I understand, it's limited, and you can't do the whole thing in 8 episodes. But at the same time, we've spent a lot of time in these 8 episodes focusing on stuff that wasn't in the books. Now,
Alan, here's my question for you.
The stuff that they've focused on is good, but at the sacrifice of this.
I have a question. Because I feel like even in the books, it's not really clear, like, why are we going to the Eye of the World?
I agree.
So I agree with what you're saying, and I don't know if it was worth it to wait 7 episodes to get like this information. Yeah. But also, it doesn't really make sense why they're going there either way.
In the books, it's kind of like we need to go to the Eye of the World to figure out who the dragon is, kind of. It's not like we're going to do it and throw you at the Dark One unprepared.
I don't even know if I read it that way. It was more like
it's not handled well. I agree that the ending of book 1 is the weakest of all the books.
It's like, hey, there's something going on. They're after you guys. We don't know why. But that doesn't give
the show an excuse. I would have been okay if they made it better and explained it better in the show. And I think they've made it worse. But we'll have to see.
As someone who's currently reading book 1, Nathan, that's kind of how I felt it was. Is the kids are at their hometown, the Trollocs attack, and Moraine tells them, "This is the reason why the Trollocs are they're coming after you guys specifically. Right. So you need to come with me." She doesn't say it's because one of you is the Dragon Reborn. No. She just said the Trollocs are after you.
So because the reasoning is. Look at what they attacked. They didn't attack everyone in the town. They attacked your 2 houses and Rand's house off in the woods. Yeah, they're looking at one of you. She doesn't say we don't know why, but she doesn't tell them why and says, if you leave the village, we won't kill everyone here. They'll chase us instead of people here.
Because I don't think they even discuss like one of you could be the Dragon Reborn, right? No, it's just like we know that's a thing. And then you as a reader is like, well, that's obviously what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the book is the kids with Moraine in the wilderness, and it's all the bad things happening to them, and just them trying. They're like, oh, if we get to Tarvalin, then we'll be safe. That's our goal. And then things change along the way, and so I kind of think this sudden. All right, so one of you is either going to destroy the world or save it. I don't know which one, but the rest of you are going to die. So pack your bags, kids.
I'm just wondering how we could have made this better. Like, does any of us have an idea that would have made it more comprehensible and those motivations more clear?
Yes.
Because I honestly no.
I think that your point earlier about the urgency and how much they need the Dragon Reborn right now is, in my opinion, kind of what they could have done to help that a little bit more, right? Because right now too, we don't really see why they need the Dragon Reborn. Just that they've broken the world, and hey, someone's looking for the Dragon Reborn to hopefully save the world. But we don't see why it needs to be saved, really, right? Even from Emmons Field, it looks like life was good there. Tarvalin, it looks like life was good there.
Yeah,
right?
Actually.
So what is it that they need help saving? Because there's none of this urgency. I mean, you have some mention of Faldara trying to defend against the Blight, but
and you even have a month. So we skip a month in episode 5.
Yeah,
and we're and there was urgency with the Trollocs chasing them, and then all of a sudden it's 1 month later. Well, what happened to all the Trollocs? What happened to the urgency? It's just
they all just got there just fine. We didn't need to see that month.
Yeah, so there's not as much urgency in the show, and to answer your question, Nathan, I think the best way to fix it is sacrifice the mystery of who is the Dragon Reborn. I get that you want,
so it's more about getting this person
sacrifice the mystery, keep the Tam and Rand scene in episode 1, and from the get-go that. I mean, and in episode 1, don't say one of you is going to be the Dragon Reborn. We can slowly figure out that as we go that, we know that they're important, and then we slowly figure out, it's because Rand is the Dragon Reborn. But but from episode 1, he's tortured with, he's not my real dad. Who are my real parents? And then we hit the weight of this,
What is this comment? I'm sorry.
Okay, let me finish my thought. But from episode 1, we get a weight set on Rand's shoulders of, I have to save the world. I'm a kid. Wait a minute. That means I'm going to go crazy and probably kill all my friends. I don't like this. And it could have been, we could have had his character developed the whole time, and then it could be look. We know it's a big burden, but if we go to the Eye of the World, whatever's there will help you come to a reconciliation, come to grips with this mantle that's just been shoved on you right now, and we'll get some answers. We'll figure out maybe because I don't think the Aes Sedai would be able to teach him how to channel, so he's like, you need help, and that's what the Eye of the World could have been.
There's a comment.
I was heated. So what were we laughing about? Is it Bella is already at the Eye of the World?
No.
I want to point out Jay Diggity, better writing option. Going to the Eye reveals who the dragon is. I think that would be a good we don't know, and at the Eye of the World it'll reveal it to us. I don't know what the point of going to the Eye of the World is in book 1 yet, so don't tell me that. But then the 2 comments after that are the ones that were giggling.
That I was laughing at, yeah.
The season would have been better.
I read it twice to make sure I didn't misread
more
it.
Scenes of Rand and Matt kissing each other.
I was like, was there a scene? Because I missed that.
And then Alan Bird's response.
Not with the dagger still coming out of his mouth.
It takes STIs to a whole new level right there.
Well, it's the scene where the dark friend asks if they're lovers.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And Rand says, I could do better than that.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that a good time to Are we done talking about the sexy times between the characters? I think we talked about that earlier.
We
were on the CW scene, and then we got off in the weeds, and then the next scene is
her tracking Lan, isn't it?
Yeah. Next, we get.
She's on the balcony, and then like
Lan and Moraine, where we get kind of. Moraine feels like she's taken everything from Lan, and Lan says, "No, you've given me purpose. You've given me something to die for." So, and then
that again really makes me think that they're setting it up for her to die, or for us to think that she's died. There's been like little breadcrumbs across the way throughout all these episodes. Yeah, where she's like, "I'm expendable. I'm gonna die," which is very interesting.
Yes. I agree with that. Then we see Lan's family. Nynaeve tracks him or follows him. And then Lan teleports.
Yeah.
Go watch the scene again.
Yeah.
She's looking in. She makes eye contact with Lan, then gets shy, turns away, and he's standing outside. So what did the editors do?
I honestly thought did he use some magic to make an illusion or something? Where he
made a copy of himself so we could sneak up.
I watched this several times because I thought the same thing the first time I watched it. As I'm watching again, how I read it is some sort of eye contact, and then she just looks confused, and worried. Like she's like, "Oh, where'd he go?" Or he's moving, and she kind of turns to go, and that's when she gets caught. So it is there, but if you read it as her being shy, it doesn't work. It's like her being confused and kind of like, "Oh, I should probably go."
It doesn't work at all because whatever it's bad editing.
It is not good editing, but I see what they were trying to do. It took me 3 times watching it to understand what they were trying to do.
So he just disappeared, and she's like, "Wait, where did he go?"
No, I think probably she made eye contact with him, and then was like, "Oh shit!" and and he starts to move. She thinks she can leave, but he was faster.
People are saying they're finally showing the power of his color changing cloak, and
maybe except that's not the thing at all in this.
He just hung it up in the room and changed it to colors to a copy
smoke
of
bomb. Just total smoke bomb disappears.
So I thought that was strange too. He should have, after they made eye contact, she should have ducked around a corner or something. And then because I don't believe she was right there. He was right.
I don't know if it was clear either that they made eye contact too. That's the thing. It's like it doesn't show they make eye contact. He kind of slyly looks over his shoulder.
Implied. He looks over and then it cuts to her looking in like, "Oh no, he saw me."
See, this is how I read those differently. I don't read them as actually having eye contact. But
can I ask a question? I meant to ask this earlier when we were talking about channeling and explaining how the magic works to the audience. Mm-hmm. The waves that and the smoke that comes as they are doing magic, is that just a representation for us, the audience, to see that magic is happening, or can people in universe see those effects?
I was wondering that myself,
and I think that's actually something that we could talk about with the final scene of this episode.
I think it's the first. I don't think that I have to go through the books again, but I don't think that regular people see the weaves. They just see the result. Interesting. Because the only thing it's mentioned is that women can't see the men's weaves when they're talking with Logain in the... But if you can channel, you can see the other person's weaves. Right. I think that's implied, but it doesn't... But women can't see men's. Yes. Yeah. It doesn't explain whether regular people can see the women's weaves. Yes. It's just for us. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I don't think it's clear yet specifically so they could have that scene later where it's there's things you actually weren't shown as an audience.
Yeah. Which I got thoughts on that too.
And my wife has thoughts on too, and we'll get to in a second.
Right. Yes.
Because first we got to talk about banging. So they bang, and then
that was so awkward though, because she's literally they say goodbye, and then next scene
she just walks back in.
Do you want me to go?
I was like,
I did think it was really awkward.
If you've seen The Office, there's an episode where the characters are watching a Jack Black movie, and like he's like dating a really old lady. Like that line, I think, is in that scene where Jack Black asks, "Do you want me to go?" And then the old lady says, "No, I want you to stay." And that's the only thing I could think of when she said that line.
Well, I'm okay with that line, but it's like her just like walking in, like it wasn't a knock on the door or like, "Hey, can I come in?" It was like, "Look at me, I'm
housekeeping,
here. Are you gonna get
room service."
Hey, love isn't always nice and neat and perfectly scripted.
Okay,
it's awkward
David.
sometimes.
Dang it.
People are saying that there are scenes in the episodes where you don't see the weaves because it's from other people's perspectives.
Okay, maybe I'll need to go back and look.
But yeah, that is how, in the books. That is how it is. Like if you can channel, you can see someone else's weaves, but regular people will just see the result of the channeling.
To comment on how romance isn't always like nice and neat and well written, you can still write awkward romance in a show to make it good. One of the things, Spider-Man: Far From Home, in that movie.
You can't talk about it yet because we haven't seen
I'm not talking about.
There's romance in this movie. Oh, it's ruined.
Oh,
it's ruined.
No. Not the recent one that just came out, but
the Mysterio
one. Vacation in Europe one. You have the Tom Holland's Spider-Man trying to flirt with Zendaya, and it's awkward, but it's cute, and they play it off, and it's written well. Yeah. This seems like they're trying to make it good, and it's the CW. It falls flat, and it's not good.
Yeah.
And I hate it. I hate it so much. I can't emphasize how much I hate all the romance in this show because it is so bad.
I don't mind the romance, but yeah, that was a little bit awkward.
At least the build up to Lan and Nynaeve's romance is better in the show than it is in the books.
Yeah, I agree. And it could be worse too. It could be Game of Thrones like love scenes and have like full butt and boob, which I'm not wanting at this point yet in my life for this series. So
yeah. So
I will say the post
coitus.
Scene, yeah, that's what I was gonna say, but I didn't know like what level of terminology you want to hear, but the post-coitus between Nynaeve and Lan, I thought that was
talk about his title. Yes,
and like they're opening up to each other, and like she's leaving, but then as he opens up, she sits back down, and she's willing to talk to him, and they share that nice moment, and it's just a little like they hold each other's hands. I like that. That was, I thought, some romance done well.
It was good.
Can I interrupt this really quickly though? When Rand breaks down the door, it's from Dana's perspective. We don't see the weave, and then when we go back there, from his perspective, we see the weave. Yes.
I was just gonna say, what was I gonna say? Oh, okay. I agree. I like that scene a lot. This is something that I feel like they keep doing intentionally, the writers and the people on the show, because when you first meet Lan's family, I read it as them showing like this is his family. He lives here. They've kind of implied that this whole time, right? Like, oh, he lives here. This is his family. All of these things happening, and I feel like sometimes the writers are specifically being like, "Oh, look what we're doing. Oh, Lan has a family. Oh, look, all these things." Like trying to trick, or like, change. Are we going to change this? Are we changing this? And then we're like, no, we're not changing this. Here's this other scene where we show you that we're not changing.
Yeah.
So
change bait.
Yeah, almost. That's exactly what it feels like. Like, look what we're doing. Oh, we're not doing it. We're good.
Gotta keep really your book readers on your toes.
No, you don't. That's not a thing that needs to happen.
Yeah, so you find out it's kind of his adopted family because his family is dead.
I liked that, but again, I knew Lan's backstory because I had just read it in book one.
Well, yeah, but it only works if you know his backstory.
Yeah,
because otherwise it's just like
Yeah, why does she ask?
I thought it worked fine.
Yeah, a Nynaeve's question to him is kind of awkward if you don't know. I didn't even realize that because I know his backstory. But as a non-book reader, why would she? So who is that guy you took? Well, obviously it was his family.
Obviously his father.
But she says, who is that guy? He was acting like your father. No one would say that. They would say, "So I'm really glad I met your father today."
Yeah,
because I'm gonna take my dog out. I'll be right back.
I took that to mean though that she Lan had no indication prior that he had family. He was just he's just completely attached to Moraine, and then all of a sudden he's having dinner with this family. So I thought the question was fine. It's like, hey, you haven't talked about having a family. Who was that guy? That's how I kind of viewed the conversation. So I didn't think it was completely out of place.
I don't think it's completely out of place. I just feel like they're doing what Alan's named it. They're like change baiting. They're
change baiting the book readers. Like, hey, have we changed it?
Have we changed things? Look at what we're doing. We did it. It's like so annoying.
Yeah.
So funny. They bang, but yeah, the discussion afterwards was pretty good. Then Rand can't shoot worth beans. And I actually liked this scene. This is the first Egwene and Rand scene that I've liked, and I know I want to hear Tanner's perspective because I know he hates specifically this romance. But I liked that she came in all hot and heavy, saying, "Why I waited for you for an hour," and he's like, and I loved Rand's response.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to come to you. I found when you're actually ready to talk to me, you're mad enough to come find me. I liked it. I thought that was actually good writing.
I agree. Yeah, I'm pretty sure like the dialogue in this scene.
I'm pretty sure this is the only time we actually see clear dialogue about what if Rand's the dragon, guys. Like, this is the only time where she's like, and if it's you, or if it's me,
They've literally had, but what if it's me? But what if it's me? And then we finally get, but what if it's you?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the dialogue I've been missing this whole show. I talked about, I think it was last time, about how on the Amazon webpage they have little character backstories of all the characters, and it's like I don't get that in the show. And finally, this was the episode with all the talk about in the when Moraine tells them that one of them is going to die, and then this scene right here with Egwene and Rand. I think we finally got those character motivations that they set out. It's like it was really great, but again, this is episode 7. Why haven't we gotten this yet?
Yeah. Oh, and I also have written down that I think I skipped accidentally. We finally get a scene of Nynaeve actually tugging her braid in the post coitus with the Daishan explanation. And there was another line that I really liked where she says that Moraine owns you, and she's like, she does. And Lan's response is, Moraine doesn't own me, or at least only in the way that the kids own you, because your life is consumed by them.
Yeah.
I thought that was good writing.
Yeah.
But then we finally get to see the Tam scene, which should have been in episode 1. Where
I'm kind of getting the sense though that you guys did not like these little flashback moments.
That was the best part of the episode. It was the best part of the episode.
That was great. Yeah.
But I felt like I've already discussed how I think structurally it would have been better to see it from the beginning. But
I've just been waiting for this the whole time. Like every time those moments would happen, I'd be like, "That's going to be a flashback scene."
Okay, yeah. So we flash back to Rand and Tam, and Tam revealing that it's not his kid. He found a little baby in a dragon mount, and we flash back to the door, him channeling the door, and then.
His hand carved mahogany, and then he bursts it up.
It's like my favorite scene from
Emperor New Blue.
Not that, no, but from Atlantis, which is a criminally under.
Oh yeah,
So this pole must have taken thousands of years to climb. Hey, look, I made a bridge. It only took like 4 or 5 seconds.
One of the best characters. We can talk about Atlantis all day long.
Let's do a live stream about
Let's
Atlantis.
do it, please.
That is one of my favorite movies of
Such a
all
good
time.
one.
It's
Oh my
so
God.
good.
It is really good.
Okay, but Tanner's back. So
Hey,
I want to know what we already talked about the scene, but I want to know what you felt about the scene with Rand shooting arrows and Egwene talking to him, because I felt like that was the first time I felt that was the first time that their romance was written well.
Yeah, I can see that, and like where they're. Can you guys hear me still? You can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. I think that I can see that, and like I said with Nynaeve and Lan, them like opening up and talking to each other, that was done well. But I think I have the same problem as your wife, where I just don't like Egwene, but because she seems like.
She's a little
now
arrogant in the show.
I'm starting, like, I also am listening to Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire on audiobook as well, so I got those characters on the mind. But she reminds me of Emma Watson's Hermione, which is also very know-it-all-y and like kind of Mary Sue-y.
You are not about to like diss Emma Watson's Hermione on a live stream with me, Tanner.
I'm sorry, it's been I don't like the Harry Potter movie.
Ethan has left the chat.
Well, if it's the first two movies, then that's okay.
Okay, well, it just her like coming in and being like, "I waited for you for an hour," and then
Rand's response is
Rand's response was great.
That is
like
the definition of a clapback.
Like,
100%.
Come find me. But again, I think it just another reason why I don't like the romance aspect at all is because I am in the eye of the world right now, and like the character motivations are so much different because they're non-romantic and they're younger kids, and like the hints at romance that we get are them kind of these feelings just starting, and like I think that adds to just how terrible and how much strife they're in the situation. It shows how young these characters are and how inexperienced in the world they are, and that all this bad stuff is happening. It's like, man, these kids are really something for toughing it out. And then here it's like you're in your 20s, you've been dating for a while, and it's like we'll do it. And then I mean, like I get it. I don't really like the actor for Rand either. I'm not a big fan of him.
Because we haven't seen any of what he's doing yet.
Yeah,
this is the only episode. I like Rand so far. I don't like Perrin. If we're getting into this, Perrin's actor is like just doesn't emote at all, in my opinion. But
I was also going to comment that earlier. He struggles a bit. I don't know if that's an intentional choice or what. But anyways, I just like, and then it's again post-coitus revelations of like, oh, maybe I am the Dragon Reborn, and it's that clarity that comes. Anyways,
that was the best part of the episode, though. We were just getting into that.
No, yeah. So that part I like, but just like I don't like the Egwene Rand thing. I think we talked about the last time I was on. Would you watch it if these were like kids in their teens and actors that are meant to reflect that? And no, but it feels like they gave teenage romance to these characters that are supposed to be in their 20s. And it feels too CW. And I think any like CW show where it is characters in their 20s, but the target audience is like teenagers, it gets bad.
On the CW, probably that comment.
Yeah.
Red shooting arrows is the I can't.
I just need to focus.
I'm too worked up because my girl just broke up with me. I can't make any of my shots.
Get your head in your cave.
I did like that symbolism came back as he is starting to have these revelations that he is the Dragon Reborn, and now that his like path is clear, he's hitting the target in the bullseye. I did like that.
You can hear the sound of channeling when he's doing that. Like you hear the sound.
What?
Oh,
yeah,
it's like that.
You hear the sound that they kind of do while channeling while he's doing this. Like,
but does he need to channel to be a good archer? Because the Two Rivers are known for their archery.
No, but I feel like that's more like he's in that focus moment.
Is that him entering the void then?
The void, and where he kind of can sense the source.
Well, then why didn't he split an arrow? Huh? I would have loved to have seen him do that.
You know what, Jared?
Shut up, Jared.
He's not just like going to ruin an arrow for practice.
Oh, okay.
No one's around to see him split an arrow. Why would you do that?
Yeah. Moraine, Egwene wasn't in that scene. He doesn't need to show off. But then he goes off to talk to Min, which I think was I really liked the scene with Min.
I did want to ask you though, did you see it coming that he was the one in the ways? Because that was a good revelation for me.
Yeah, it was. I didn't, and it was good.
I thought that part was really well done.
And
but some of the other ones, I was like, yeah, I saw that.
But
of course, he was using.
It brings up.
Like, what are you doing?
It brings up a problem that my wife pointed out. She asked, How do the girls not know when they're channeling?"
Well, I wonder if she tried to channel too.
That's what I was thinking too.
When you channel, you feel the source, and it is euphoric. It would be kind of hard to miss if Egwene was like didn't channel, but then thought she did.
Well, I think she's still kind of like knee-jerk reaction, like starts to do something maybe.
Yeah, I agree. That's how I read it. That's how I read it too. She was channeling, but he was the one that came in and
I don't think she's just sitting there. I think she like embraces the source, but but that's a good point.
You're wrong. I mean, the same thing with Perrin and Egwene and the fire. If she and they say, "Who did it? You were me." If she actually did the channeling to start the fire, she would have felt it.
Yeah,
it's not subtle. When you embrace the source, it's like doing drugs. It's like,
but would she had admitted that at the time?
Why would she hide it? Why would she hide the fact that she could channel
to save Perrin's dignity and save in starting a fire?
Well, the other thing too that I did notice is that they haven't showed what happens when you do channel. Like it drains you, right? Like you're tired after you channel. So
I don't think they do a good job of doing that in the first book, just in general. Like you don't understand how it feels. You don't understand any of that.
Well, again,
especially if Nynaeve is channeling unintentionally, like she doesn't know she's channeling.
So some people are saying that they both channeled. That Egwene started to channel, and then
that's what I
took
thought.
Over.
That's what I think too.
But again, this goes back to the problem that they haven't really explained to the main characters and the audience of how channeling works.
Yeah,
I just can't wait for that in season 2 or 3 when they finally start.
I think they're waiting for that because that's when they go. The girls go to the White Tower. And...
that's when you get the Hogwarts stuff where you go to magic school. Honestly, everyone complains about that trope in fantasy books. That's the best part of
fantasy. That's the best part.
What are you talking about? Part of any fantasy book is when you go to magic school and you learn how to use the magic.
Hey, same with Kingkiller, right? Like
exactly. That's all those books are. Everyone says everyone says Quoth spends too much time in the university. That's the only thing I want Quoth doing is just learning magic. Okay, so shut your mouths. So Min and Rand. She has more visions for Rand. First off, the actress for Min, I like her portrayal. She feels a little too old for me, though.
I thought that too, but she was a child when he was being born. So
she's a couple years older than Rand. Like I guess it would be.
She lives in the borderland. She's not moisturizing. She's gonna look a little older.
I don't know. Wrong? Are you not into older women?
Yeah. It's a fair point, Alan. I don't think I had the same thought, but then I kind of was like, yeah.
They're making Min's character a cougar.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's fine. Because I think her acting is good. I like her portrayal as Min, and I really liked the scene with Min and Rand. It was kind of like that. Hey, I'm probably the dragon. Can you just confirm this for me before I go off and kill myself?
Yeah.
Like,
I really like the interaction, but it also makes me wonder, did she see that before and not disclose that information to Moraine?
I think she did. I was going to ask that, actually.
Here's the thing. This is a contradiction. So she says her first vision ever was seeing Tam walk through Tarvalin after getting the baby at Dragonmount. She said, I saw your sword and I saw the baby boy. And she specifically says it was a baby boy. And we know that she's talked to Moraine. So why does Moraine still think the dragon could be a girl?
Well, I feel like she's hiding things from Moraine, though. She's not telling Moraine the whole truth. I think that's pretty clear because she asks her, like, which one is a dragon, and she doesn't tell her. So I feel like in that moment, because she could have told him about Tam, even, hey, that guy has a dragon, and you don't have those issues.
They could, if they're saying that Min has distrust of the Aes Sedai too, that could work. But,
or even just like that she knew that she couldn't tell Moraine who the dragon was, or would mess up what she's seeing.
Okay. And so what she does see, she says, rainbows, carnivals, 3 beautiful women, and then Rand says, do I come back from the eye of the world? She doesn't answer, and he says, well, that means no. Which we can talk about that later. And then Rand leaves in the middle of the night with Moraine, and I liked how it ended.
Yep.
I like too that they brought back in the previous episode where they said you can mask the warder bond.
Yes,
and then that came in useful. It was like, oh, she masked our bond, and now she's gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty good excuse too that she's like, oh, you know what? You're busy. I'm gonna just mask this.
She waits till he starts banging and like,
yeah. And then she's like, and also, I'm outie, guys.
How do you like the representation of the Blight?
I think it's interesting.
Did we?
I think it's too much, right?
We did. They walk into it at the end.
The trees.
Oh, right. Yeah. Right.
It looked like the entire Blight was made up of those trees. I think it goes on for too long, and it doesn't make sense because, like, people have to like walk through it, right?
And armies and stuff.
The best explanation I can think of is that those trees grow at the border of the Blight, like that's how it spreads, maybe, so it shifts, and so once you get past them, they're not on. But there's a lot of stuff that if those trees are just covering the entire Blight, just won't work and later on.
Or maybe they get bigger. I think that's maybe something we need to see later on. I think they were trying to make it look like an infection, which it did. It looked like it was an infection.
Like a corruption.
Yeah.
But it probably would have been better if, to your point, that, they had some healthy trees, along the way. And then all of a sudden there's this line where, everything is dead.
Or even like grass, like you can see the healthy grass and then they get to a place where it's.
Yeah.
Well, you can see when Moraine and Rand though walk up to it. Those things are big. Like those trees.
Yeah, they're big. You can walk through them.
We're really big, right? Yeah. So it
not still like presents some problems for some stuff that happens later on, but
we'll see how they handle that because
it looked more like Sleeping Beauty thorns and thickets that
a little drier.
As I that's where I am in the book now, is them experiencing the Blight. I imagined it as the scene from the Two Towers where Frodo, Sam, and Gollum are like walking through a bog and there's like puddles and dead people in the puddles. That's more what I imagine it like, just death. And like, because they're in a desert right now. And so like, there's not going to be much. So I imagined like the Blight is like literally killing the land and nothing can grow, rather than like infectious weeds. So that's,
I'm hoping this is one of those moments where next week we're like, oh, they fixed it. Like we had all these questions and they fixed it.
They're definitely going to, because they're going through the Blight. They got it.
I think that's just what the border of the Blight will look like. I hope that's just the spreading of the Blight, and once you get in, it's not just trees everywhere. But yeah, that's the end of the episode. I can't say that yet. Sorry. You guys have any other notes?
Not that I can say right now.
Okay.
They did mention that the Trollocs were using the Waygate.
Yes.
But yeah, that's all my notes. We've talked about everything.
That can't. Okay. Yeah. That's all. That's it. I think overall it's probably one of the best episodes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's like this and episode 4 are like the best ones.
Agreed.
David, you gave us your predictions last time. Tanner, do you have any like, this is how I think the books or the series is going?
Oh, well,
And let's pull this back up again. Let's switch to the maybe ticker.
Maybe. Well, I still have to learn like how the reincarnation ideas work, what exactly the wheel is. Like, I'm getting hints at that through the series and through the first book. And so I like to think that, and I mean, maybe this would be a cool thing if they can do later seasons where we, these are supposed to be people who are reincarnated. Are we going to see like entire lives lived through, and then these characters are reincarnated, and then it comes back full circle? Like, that's what I am hoping will happen, and that's what seems appealing. And I think from a show standpoint, that's cool, because then you don't have to keep the same actors for the whole thing. Like, if you get to, these are the same characters but reincarnated, and now we're exploring a new chapter of this saga, then you can get new people on, you can freshen things up, and you can change it up a bit.
Matt was just really quickly reincarnated.
Yes, he was just
really fast. It was just super fast.
That was
and now he's the same age.
Yeah.
Rapid aging.
But like something like the eye of the world. I mean, the eye of a hurricane is a calm center point of it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what that actually is and what the significance of that location is, because I think that's going to be key to kind of understanding this world and how the rules and the things work. If I had to make some predictions, like specifically, Perrin is going to lead an army of wolves in some big battles, and like he's going to be like not a full-on werewolf, but like a wolf man. Egwene is going to go to school and realize that she's not as smart as she thinks she was.
That's just wish fulfillment for you.
Yeah, I was like,
Nynaeve and Lan, they'll have a will they, won't they, and they'll
but they
take
already
a break.
did.
Will they?
They'll take a break, and Lan will do something with someone else, and then Nynaeve will get mad, and then for 2 more seasons, Lan will keep saying we were on a break as they go on, and there'll be that.
I think that was trademarked. I don't think they could use that in the show. That phrase officially trademarked.
But I think
it was a different turning of the wheel.
It was a pivot of the wheel in that case. But then I will say, with book 1, I do like Rand as a character, and I think he's a good central protagonist. I'm just happy to be along for the ride at this point, and it's so big and so vast, and all the stuff bigger. The stuff I've learned about the Aes Sedai that doesn't come up in the Eye of the World, the book, here in the show, makes me think, okay, I have a long ways to go, and I don't want to like curse myself into thinking it's going to go one way when it goes another way. Right. I really hope Egwene gets a slice of humble pie, and I do like Perrin and the Wolves. In the books, I think it's cool. Here, it's okay, but I think I really enjoyed those parts of the book. So if you are like, oh man, I kind of like that idea, maybe you don't like the Perrin actor so much, go check out the book because it's a little more well done there. Where David, what you were saying about how they don't explain how the powers work in the book, there's a significant explanation about what he can do and like what his abilities are with that. So,
Awesome.
and apparently I've seen some memes and some people in the chat interested to see what happens with Bella the horse because
she's a big character.
because I mean when Perrin and Egwene get rescued from the White Cloaks, it's like, oh, Bella's there, and they save Bella too, and it's like, yay! And so I think that's cute.
One of the best Wheel of Time memes I've seen so far is a parallel to the Parks and Recreation show with little Sebastian.
Yeah,
and the show watchers are just like, I don't know why people are so obsessed with Bella. It's just a horse, right? Like, it's just a horse. I don't get it. I don't.
That's funny.
That's all I got. But I will say, I think maybe I'm hindering my enjoyment of the show because I'm reading the book at the same time, and I always have that problem where I like my imagination more than someone else's interpretation in a visual medium. So maybe after I read book 1, I'll go back. I'll like give it a couple of weeks and then go back and watch the series and see if I like it better.
It's harder to pick back up if you take a break. The books are more palatable just because there's so many characters if you just do it all at once.
Well,
that's been my experience because I took a break between book 1 and 2 and 2 and 3, and then I just went from 3 to the end, and it was much easier for me.
I'm doing a lot of traveling for the holidays, and so book 2, that's kind of what I'm going to be focusing on while I'm driving and on planes and stuff. I'm just going to be listening to that. So
book 2 is one of my favorites. So
I've got like two more hours in book 1, and then I'm on to book 2. So
you'll also be very
books, honestly.
Well, those were some fun predictions. Anything else to say before we kick you guys off?
Scram.
Just kidding. I want to just put because I know this is going on the internet. If any potential employers look me up and see that joke about flirting with students, when is it okay?
It was just one time.
Never. No, Alan, shut up. I need to. I don't flirt with students. That's gross. That's weird. That's another trope in CW shows that I hate.
Oh my gosh.
And I would love. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we can talk about that if you ever want to chat CW shows. Is this idea that oh yeah, the forbidden romance is so it's gross.
It's been a while since I've seen a CW show. I watched season 1 of Riverdale with my wife, and that was all I could take.
Never even started that one.
I guess technically the Superman and Lois show is CW. That one's not bad. But I haven't watched any of I haven't watched any of the DC superhero shows since season 1 of The Arrow.
I was gonna say The Arrow actually gets better.
You're not watching the Gossip Girl reboot? I don't understand. The Gossip Girl reboot? You're not watching that every night?
I didn't watch the original. Is it good?
I didn't watch either. So just kidding.
I saw someone review Pretty Little Liars, and they're like the first episode, one of the main girls like leaves her house to go to school in the morning, and then she stops at a bar and flirt and like doesn't get carded and is just drinking in the morning, and there's like a handsome dude there that she flirts with. And then she gets there, and he's like the new Spanish teacher, and she's like, "Uh-oh."
And he's drinking before school too.
And then the romance continues after that, and it's like, first of all, how do you have time as a teacher to go to the bar in the morning? Second, I actually get why someone might go to the bar in the morning. If
he's not a good teacher. He doesn't have a lesson plan.
So here's what we'll do. So we only have one more of episode for an after show, and I want to keep doing these live streams on the weekends. let's do a roulette and pick a random CW show that we're all forced to watch.
Oh
no, please no.
Oh no.
And that's just what we do between season 1 and season 2 is watch an episode each week. And oh gosh, I don't.
Actually, that sounds kind of fun. Like
it does sound fun,
but also
right?
like a little bit fun. Yeah.
We could just
and we can do like
show.
a Mystery Science Theater 3000 sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oh my
Well,
god.
there we go.
That might be a good thing to do with Atlantis if we want to like
Yes,
get
circling
together
back.
and
Let's make
talk on
that happen, Tanner.
That would be
Oh,
good.
nice.
Atlantis is good. I do. That's a good movie that has a lot of potential.
All right. Well, we want to start talking about book stuff.
right.
So we don't want to ruin your lives. So thanks for showing up.
Thanks for having us.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, Tanner and David.
Bye.
Okay. Full spoilers. You have been warned. We're going to ruin your lives if you have not read the books. Okay. Who's first?
Interesting comment from Alan Bird there.
Luce Theron is cast for episode 8. Really? I did not know he was cast already.
They kind of did that bonus content too that showed him. So
yeah, if the cold open for episode 8 is the prologue,
you would love that.
Ooh, I would love to see the prologue.
Yeah, I think we talked a little bit about that last time, actually, about Luce Theron.
We might just see him in the eye of the world, but if we don't get the prologue, I'll be upset.
Did you?
Sorry, I interrupted you, Jared.
Oh, I was just saying that we kind of talked about Luce Theron potentially being in these next episodes, so I hope to see him. I really do.
In this next episode,
right? Because last time we talked about Rand and how he hadn't had any dreams from Luce Theron, right? And how that kind of goes into show that he's dragon, right? And so I hope that we definitely get to see him. So
okay. I've got some notes for full series spoilers. The cold open with Rand's mom. Why does she have red hair?
Because she's an IU.
No, she's not.
No, she's related to.
She's from Camelin.
No, Camelin, but they have red golden hair too.
They have
so that's why
blondish, don't they?
They have like reddish gold.
Does
they even talk about Elaine having
does Elaine have red hair? I thought she had blonde.
She has reddish gold hair. That's how they describe
hair.
it.
Okay.
So
yeah, I was kind of hoping that she wouldn't have red hair, and it would have been like a blink and you miss it thing for theories, because this is an ideal. They all have red hair except the one we've seen didn't.
They definitely showed that it was Tigraine though. In the if you go and look at the character name, it is Tigraine.
Tigraine, she does have red hair. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm wrong. Has Podon Fane been corrupted by Mashadar yet?
I feel like he would have had to, because he's already been through Shadar Logoth, or Shadar Logoth, as they say it.
Did it show him in Shadar Logoth?
No, but they don't go back there at all, plot-wise, until book 7 or 8. So it wouldn't make sense for them to wait.
And that's how he's surviving the ways?
And that's also, I think, why Moraine.
How is Podon Fane opening the gates? Are we going to?
There is that little photo with him holding a trifold leaf in the bonus content.
Where does it go?
I have no idea.
Because they're
but a lot of people. I mean, it could be a little Terangriel, right? That opens the ways.
Someone's saying we did hear whistling in Shadow Logoth. I don't know.
Yeah, we did. Oh, did we? I did not.
There's a shadow. The shadow is Mordith, not Podon Fane. With the dagger.
Well, I thought they were the same thing. Doesn't
Mordith
become Mordith?
They become the same thing.
They become, but they're not.
Mordith possesses Podon Thane's body, and he becomes like schizophrenic.
But yeah, at this point, I think he has gone through, because it doesn't make sense for them to go back.
Okay.
And I also think that's why that Moraine is sensing something in that moment, but she doesn't quite know what.
I really hope we get Leafs.
I hope so too.
And maybe they just didn't have one, and that's why she had to channel it open. I'm okay with that. But
that's what I was thinking.
If there's no Leafs, then it just doesn't make sense. Why? Because the ogres built them. They have to be able to use them.
I think they're just doing it more like that it is a ter'angreal, right? So there are a limited number. Maybe some have been missing, so not every gate's going to have one. But if you have one, you can use the ways.
Someone's saying Mordeth is not going to be in the show, and it's just Podon Thane because there was whistling when the shadow showed up. Or maybe he was already possessed by Mordeth when... I don't know.
Or maybe that was before he's possessed by Mordeth.
Maybe.
And then that's his character development, too. So...
Yeah. Well, I thought that discussion we had earlier, too, about Perrin's wife being a shadow friend.
Yeah, I want to go back.
I think that's wrong.
Because I was like, I don't know. Because, yeah, I mean, that's why Podon Thane's sent there, right? Is to be the person to keep track of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think she's a dark friend.
I mean, I guess it's possible that maybe she's like, someone to help Podon Thane, but at the same time,
she's not like a big one.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. It's an interesting theory. It definitely warrants some like research, and I'm definitely going to watch that part of the episode again.
And it's definitely wrong.
I'm not going to say either way.
I don't work in definite. We'll both find out. We're all wrong.
The whole backstory. Yeah, okay. Okay. What is the Eye of the World? In the books, it is a pool of untainted Sidene.
Mm-hmm.
But if we take the show at face value, we don't know that the Dragon Reborn is a man. It could be a woman. Right. So why would the Eye of the World be a pool of untainted Sidene?
Well, maybe they talk about the Eye of the World. Two pools,
Sidene and Sidar, and just
there's two eyes.
Dragon in one of them?
There's two. Honestly, I don't know, because they also mentioned that the Eye of the World is where the Dark One was sealed, and that's not the case. So I feel like...
Yeah, what's that? The Eye of the World is where the Dark One was imprisoned, which is in the books.
No, that's Shale Ghul.
So are the Aes Sedai wrong here and misinformed, or is the Dark
That's
One
what I'm hoping
in the Eye of the World, and they're just making Shale Ghul and the Eye of the World the same place, which wouldn't make any sense. Because the Dark One would just kill them.
Yeah.
If they show up at Shale Ghul.
I feel like there was a comment the last time in the comments, because I was hearing the comments instead of the actual video, where someone was saying they think maybe he'll release, like that is where the Eye of the World is where they're imprisoned, and he's accidentally going to release the Forsaken at that point for season 2. So like Ishamael and all of those fun people.
There are some theories which I kind of agree with, that Swan Sanche's visions are not dreams. It's Ishamael giving her visions, tricking them into coming to the Eye of the World.
Yeah,
because it's not going to be the Dark One, right? Who's there? Mm-hmm. It's going to be Ishamael or one of the other Forsaken.
That reminds me of the visions, though, that we're talking about with Min, because they talk about the Amerlin in full regalia being her downfall.
Yes.
Say Swan Sanche.
But it could be, if Swan is being manipulated.
It could.
And sending Moraine to her death.
Yeah.
So, do they kill Moraine off early in the show?
I feel
they're
like they're
kind of hinting that she dies in the finale.
I think they're going to hint at it or make that one of the cliffhangers. But
I don't think you can do it, though. It changes so much.
I don't want them to do it. And it doesn't really make sense from even the actress's point of view. She's been
killing it.
The biggest.
Yeah.
They made
her, she's the main character of season 1.
She's basically the main. Even when you look at the description on Amazon, it's like a mysterious woman shows up to do all this stuff. Not three or 5 people from this village meet a mysterious woman, right? It's like she's the person that this is all centered around to some degree. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They have talked about kind of that dying thing. There's that motif where she's kind of leading up to it. So
it would change so much if they kill her off early.
How early does she die again? Does she die in the second book?
I think it was 4 or 5. I think we decided it was 5, didn't we?
It's 4 or 5.
we already talked about this.
Yeah, this was like the second episode.
Yeah, because it's definitely way early. So, I mean, yeah, because in the books you definitely develop a lot more. Like, I mean, because that's why you're so devastated when she does die, because you're like, she's such an integral part of the story.
Yeah, she dies in the fires of heaven, which is book 5.
I think that's book 5 or 6 because okay, it's Eye of the World, The Great Hunt, The Dragon Reborn, and then it's like I think then it's either The Shadow Rising or The Fires of Heaven.
Eye of the World, The Great Hunt, Dragon Reborn, Shadow Rising, Fires of Heaven. So it's book 5.
Fires of Heaven. So it is the 5th one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, killing her off season 1 it's way too soon.
It doesn't.
She does too much stuff in between.
But then why allude to it so early? You know, it's kind of like.
I like the foreshadowing that she's like, well, because she still has to like pass her bond on to someone else.
And it does make sense too. If she's going to have to lead the dragon, even if she figures out who it is, she's going to think she's sacrificing herself.
For it. Yeah, because she said everyone else there will die. She probably assumes that she's going to die too, but she has to deliver the dragon there to their stupid plan.
Yeah, and we did think about that. We're like,
is the Green Man going to be there?
I don't think he will, and if he will, if he is there, it's going to be
like ethereal
or full CGI, no real voice, like more special effects.
Doesn't speak at all, just like a thing that like.
Yeah, maybe.
I think they're cutting him. I think it's too weird.
That makes me so sad because I feel like they were some of my favorite parts of the lore in the world, the Green Men and his race, or his, what he is, because he's kind of a creation. But
Rafe says not all of our characters are going to make it. Apparently, into the finale. I don't know.
Well, Matt didn't make it, so he's already not wrong about that. So
I
maybe that's what he means.
I think that it's going to be a split finale. I think that Moraine and Brand are going to be at the Eye of the World, and the other characters are going to be caught up in a brawl at the Gap. They're going to be stopped by Trollocs or at the Waygate.
Well, yeah, I was definitely wondering what they were going to do, right? Because it definitely alludes that those guys are going to go and do something, right? So they're going to be doing.
They would have had Loyal there if the Green Man shows up. That's a good point. I think.
Well, I was just going to say, do you think the Loyal's going to come with them here, or do you think he's out?
Unless he comes with the second group.
With the second group, yeah.
And I don't think they're coming.
I don't know if. I hope they go to the Eye of the World with them. I don't want them to get caught up. I feel like that would be a disappointment.
Would Lan know the way there, though?
What do they do in the finale there? They don't do much. I think it gives them more to do if they're caught up in a big fight. And then it will show what the show's been missing, the stakes.
Maybe.
Of what we're trying to save the world from.
I don't know. It's interesting.
That's my theory. Most of my theories have been wrong.
In my head, I keep seeing them like falling them into the waste, and Lan is there, right? Lan is helping them get through. So I don't know. Honestly, I hadn't thought that they would change that as much as you're thinking. So it'd be interesting that they do.
I don't know. I feel like we need a big finale.
Yeah.
And if the other characters just follow them
to
the Eye of the
TV
World,
movie, yeah.
If the other characters follow them to the Eye of the World, they're just going to be standing there watching the fight happen and not doing anything, or fighting other Forsaken.
That's a good point.
But then it's just going to get muddled and confusing. If there's two different scenes, you can cut between them, and it will be easier to track. I'm thinking of it as a TV show, and I'm throwing the books out.
I mean, they have done Fane a lot too. SG
Fane is there.
That's a good point. So it wouldn't make sense not to do anything.
But why is Fane there? Fane, if they left the dagger in Tarvalin, Fane shouldn't be there. It's okay.
Well, because he kind of shows up in the second book at the beginning, right? So maybe they're just bringing that.
Well, he shows up in Faldara to steal the dagger, but I think they said she doesn't have the dagger. She left it in Tarvalin.
Right. I think he's going to be there to like lead the Trollocs in, or like a force in of some kind to attack the city.
Yeah.
Or maybe he'll be there at the Eye of the World because they
talk about how they have to block that, or because they know that Trollocs are going through those ways, so they could have something like that happen.
Okay.
I don't know. There's lots of options here.
There's
he
lots
definitely
of
needs to be. They've got to have the big. Hey, I'm Paden Fane, and I was there, and I'm the reason your village was attacked.
And we've cut Mordith from the script.
So
it's just me, Paden Fane, not Mordith. Okay. Yeah, there's lots of ways they can take it. Okay, so there's two other things we need to talk about. There's all the visions. There's all the Min's visions, and there's my problems with episode 6. Can I talk about episode 6 first?
Can we talk about that after? Okay. Do they relate to this specifically? No. Okay. Then let's do the visions first.
Okay, visions.
Because I only had a few comments there, really.
The girls, White Flame and Ring of Gold. White Flame is Egwene. She's the flame. She's going to be the Amulet Flame of Tarvalin, and it's white because it's Audulus. Ring of Gold, I wasn't sure what that was alluding to.
I think that's Nynaeve's Ring of Gold that Lan gives her. Lan gives her like gold that she like carries with her.
It doesn't seem very like pivotal to her character, though.
I was just thinking it was going to say that it was like her joining the Aes Sedai. But
I think it's alluding to that a little bit. I feel like I want it to be the Ring of Gold because that's a big pivotal moment for Nynaeve and their like romance that they can't actually be together, right? Like he's still her warder, but I have this ring and
Okay. The Armerlin seat will be Moraine's downfall. We've already talked about how that could be
someone else.
Liandrin?
But I don't know if it makes sense if it is. Like I was thinking wordplay-ish, it could be Egwene when she's the Amyrlin. But that doesn't really make sense in like plot points in the book.
Well, I think it's talking about Swan Sanche.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it
being wrong and being tricked.
But then at the same time, like, what's this downfall? Like, or are they going to kill Moraine? Right? Like, I mean,
or is she going to fall down like Gandalf in the Mines of Moria?
Yeah,
that's her downfall. She's actually falling down.
So it's a literal.
Because if it's talking about Elida, I don't think Elida's responsible for Moraine falling through the gate with Lanfear, right? Does that even happen at that point? Yes, it has happened. I think it's talking about.
Or even Liandrin, though. Oh wait,
but Liandrin it's Elida.
Yeah. No, I was actually thinking of Liandrin, but Liandrin never becomes Amyrlin.
Yes. Swan Sanche goes to Elida, goes to Egwene, goes to Catswain. That's ruined the entire series.
Well, we're done. I guess we don't need to talk anymore.
All the spoilers are out.
No, it could be Liandrin if they're merging her character with Elida. They've mentioned Elida, though, haven't they? Because Elida would be in Caemlyn advising Morghese right now. I don't think they're going to merge. I
don't think they've mentioned them yet, but
because Liandrin needs to take a role in Book 2 stuff, stealing the girls and giving them to the Shan Chan, and then Liandrin eventually becomes a Suldam, right?
I am not sure. Possibly, she does a lot of things. She through like
punished.
Like 9 and 10.
She gets punished hard
because she's with Mogi.
No, it's Elida who gets
Elida gets captured. Yeah,
Elida gets captured and turned into a pet, and Liandrin gets tossed around between a bunch of people. Liandrin, because of her failure, the Forsaken tortures her and gives her to someone else, and she ends up. Liandrin is passed around between the rebel Aiels, and shows up with Perrin's stuff. It could be the downfall of the Blue Aja by Elida. maybe, but it felt more personal than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Sorry, that's the. I don't know. I think it's talking about Swan.
Well, that was definitely my first impression too, especially since, I mean, and maybe this is why it couldn't be Swan, is because it seems like they've set up that relationship with Moraine and Swan as being, much closer, and so that was my first impression, right? Like, yeah, it's got to be this Amerlin seat, Swan Sanche, who causes Moraine's downfall, right? So
the only reason I question it is because of the wording. It was so specifically worded.
Yeah, rather than saying Sanche will be your downfall, it's the Amerlin seat.
I don't know.
So that was the only reason I kind of questioned it. But
okay, so now we're talking about Rand because he's important. Her first vision that she tells Moraine is Rand's holding a baby. It's Min's baby. He has dark hair.
I saw the dark hair. Yeah.
And the other two would have red and reddish blonde hair. Right? It has to be Min's baby, and she acts coy about it. I don't know. It could be any baby.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because she's already seen the other vision of three beautiful women. One of them happens to be her.
Yeah.
I just read it more. I think that's very interesting. It could be that for sure. Because I was confused by that moment because it does look very similar to the baby that they show later on. In that scene where it shows...
Oh, he's holding himself?
Yeah, like he's holding himself, or that she was lying. But it does... That's what I'm saying is even later on when it shows him, it looks darker because it's wet. It doesn't look super red in that moment. So that's where I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Is he holding himself?
Could be him holding himself, maybe. I don't know.
Or like it was actually showing his dad holding himself, but she didn't tell
every time
Moraine
she holds something back, she sips her drink, which could be a tell. I'm going to go watch it again.
Yeah,
but yeah, she acts very dodgy, and her response to the baby questions was like, you could tell she was holding something back. Like, any baby.
Do we ever hear about there actually being a child for Mint? Because I feel like that's never confirmed.
But
definitely.
They have lots of sex.
But she's also like a cougar apparently, so maybe she's
maybe she's dry down there.
Anyways, that is a good theory. 100%.
It's got to be her kid. It's her kid.
But I still feel like that was Rand. I don't think it was. It looks very similar babies.
But
then in the second scene, she talks about seeing him as a baby and seeing his daddy and seeing the sword. And then she says, "What do you see about me?" And she says, "Rainbows, carnivals, and three beautiful women." Rainbows and carnivals.
Yeah,
is that her just making a joke and then slipping in the truth of three beautiful women at the end? Or are rainbows and carnivals real? If so, what would they be?
I feel like they have to be real. I just don't know what they could be at this point.
Carnivals. Maybe the marriage. Rainbows. I don't know.
Unless she's referring to like when they're in Kyrian and they're kind of in like carnival mode, So I feel like there's like those sort of things happening in book 2 or 3.
So maybe it's more
rainbows. The Aja, though, that's interesting
because he makes them like swear allegiance to him eventually. Carnivals. I don't know. We obviously know who the three beautiful women are. And then the last thing is he come back from the eye of the world? And he says, "I'll take that as a no." What are they trying to say there?
I think they're specifically making him think that he's not coming back.
Yeah, but
she doesn't know.
Why wouldn't she say that?
Well, I don't think she knows. I don't think she
felt like that felt like another moment she was holding back something, though.
Yeah, I agree with that. I felt like
maybe she knows. Okay, sorry. Go say your thing, and then I have an idea.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Essentially, is that like usually when you don't answer a question is because you don't want them.
Because she could have easily said, "I don't know."
Yeah, right? Or she could have said no, right? So she could have said, yeah, you're not going to make it back. But she intentionally didn't answer the question, right? So she's avoiding the question because she probably saw that he's going to come back or saw something to do with that, right?
My theory is she knows he's going to come back changed, and that's when we're going to see him kind of multiple personalities with Luz Theron. It's like, yeah, you come back, but you're completely different.
Yeah.
I feel like that's flimsy. Like, I don't. From my perspective, you don't come back. You know.
Well, whatever it is, though, I think she saw something that says that he's coming back.
Well, that's the thing. So, what are her motivations here? If she doesn't want to say,
she knows she's going to have a baby with him. Why wouldn't she?
You say that she knows she's going to have a baby
dark
with
hair.
him.
It was an Asian baby, okay?
Yep. And, like, Wade's stealing those rings so that she could have the rings to be an Aes Sedai.
It would have been better if she kept one. Okay? My theory was better than the show.
It was a great theory. I still don't see it. The baby specifically, I am not convinced. I think it's a great idea.
Okay. If they combined Shale Ghul and the Eye of the World, then she might have seen him dead because he goes back there to die.
Yeah, maybe.
But I don't like the combination.
Or maybe he doesn't come back and he goes to a different location instead, right? So he doesn't actually come back here.
Come back to Faldara.
Yeah, it's wordplay.
He travels to a different place.
That's what I'm thinking. Is like, what's her motivation? If she does see him come back, she would tell him. If she doesn't, why isn't he coming back? And why isn't she telling him that?
Yeah.
So is this one of those things where she knows that if she tells him whether or not he's coming back, that it's going to impact the future?
Yeah, I was going to say, because that's what's really going to be the determining factor is how he takes that knowledge, right?
Yeah.
How he takes the knowledge of if he's going to be back or not. So.
Yes, but we do know that she knows she falls in love with him.
Yeah.
She's one of the three beautiful women. She
but that's what I'm saying is this is knowledge that he can't know yet.
Help him?
Yeah, but what if her trying to help him changes the outcome?
And then she won't end up with him.
You know, so there's that sort of thing, and we've already seen her do that, where she knew that it was Rand and she didn't tell Moraine.
So it's saying at the end he will travel to Camelin Gardens befuddled. He just portals to Camelin. So the finale of this episode, he's fighting not a Shamael. Who does he fight? What he fights a Forsaken, and then
he does Agenor and Bothamal. I think
he fights Agenor. Yeah, Bothamal is killed by the Green Man.
You're right. But
so
they're both
Agenor. So he's going to be fighting, and then a portal opens up as he kills Agenor, and he falls through the portal onto Elaine's lap.
Doesn't he also? I think he also does fight Ishamael here because later.
I don't think.
Doesn't he also? He does kill Agenor, and then he goes and.
Yes,
he goes to like a portal.
He fights them both. You're right.
Yeah, so that's where I'm like. So maybe she sees that
Agenor is destroyed by the Pool of Sidene, and then he fights Balzaman, who's actually Ishamael, who thinks he's Balzaman. Which is that was so confusing in the voice.
In my head, there's two possibilities for why she's not answering here. A, she is seeing that maybe he's not coming back in a traditional sense. Maybe he is going to fight the Dark One, and she doesn't know the outcome or whatever that is. So she's not going to say. Or she's specifically not saying because she knows it'll affect the outcome if she does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. I don't think she's saying in that silence, no, you're not coming back. I think it's those other two options.
Okay. We'll have to see.
Yeah. We just never know, and then we're proven wrong every time, pretty much.
I've gotten some things right.
Yeah, we've done not awful.
Not my
we've also not done great.
Okay. All right. Do you guys have anything else to say before I talk about episode 6?
No, okay. That's really what stood out.
So, episode 6, watching it, I was like on the fence the whole time.
Okay, real quick though, episode 6 is the Tar Valon, right? The White Tower.
It's the second episode in Tar Valon.
You had some real criticism for the episode.
Yeah. So like there were good things in it. Episode 6, when I first watched it, had some of like the best praise that I'd ever had for the show and some of the worst criticisms.
I
think
agree.
like structurally following Moraine around for the entire episode was brilliant. To see her machinations and how she traverses the White Tower and her politics and her schemes and her secrets was structured beautifully. Okay, really well done. And I just had an uneasy feeling the whole time, and I literally woke up in the middle of the night with a dawn of realization. I said, why did they do that? So I mean, the problems we talked about last time without you,
I was here. I remember it
in the comments. Yeah. So first off, I'll save the worst for last. Swan's punishment of Logain was way too harsh.
Logain or Moraine?
Logain.
Okay. What did she punish him with again? That he'd be
basically tortured forever, kept alive in a state of misery. They said, we're going to poke you and prod you, and we will not let you kill yourself. It feels vindictive. The Amerlin seat in Swan, especially, like, she's this very imposing, powerful figure, but she's very like merciful too. And like that, she's supposed to, the Aes Sedai are servants of all, and she's supposed to be the head of that. And her punishment of Logain just seemed cruel to me, especially because of the backstory that we have from Logain. We have more information on Logain that the show has given us, and he's basically only shown doing good things. He doesn't kill the king of, not Malkir, of the king guy.
I'm
thinking Malkir. Gildon. I'm thinking Malkir because we just had a Lan episode.
Yeah.
But he spares the life of the king of Gildon, even though his schizophrenic people are telling him to murder this guy. He's shown compassion, right? And his thing is like and even Moraine says it. This guy genuinely thinks he is the Dragon Reborn. It's not just some guy trying to like seize an opportunity, and he's like, he thinks he has to save the world. Okay. And his show of power where he says, just kill me, I killed the little, I killed Jared Aja, was apparently a ploy to get them to kill him because he's been severed and he wants to die, right? So he didn't mean all those things. The only time he killed one of the sisters was in self-defense. So like the show goes out of the way to show you that Logain's not that bad of a guy. And then her sentencing of him is just cruel and vindictive.
So what do you feel they should have done? Because I feel like that's pretty standard how they treat gentle people, especially people who are like
in the show. They just let him
dragon.
Go. In the book, they'd let him go.
But he's still not dead, right? Which is the option. Like he wants to be killed.
To kill himself if he wants. It just the wording that she used.
It is cruel. Yeah,
she was like, "We're gonna keep you here, and you're gonna be tortured for the rest of your life." Essentially, I was like, that feels out of character for Swan. I really like the actress of Swan Sanche. I think she's doing an amazing job. I just don't think that what the script has given her, and is good for her character. And the big doozy is at the very end. But
I just have to go in that moment though. How is she supposed to act? There's like.
People are mad.
One of her Aes Sedai has been killed. Yeah. Like, this is a false dragon who's caused chaos and war. People have died. Like, that's where I'm like, yeah, it is a little cruel, but what other options do we have at this point?
I mean, she says it at the beginning. She says, why is he chained? He's no threat anymore. I feel like being dismissive of him would also be insulting. Just go. Like, you're nothing. Leave.
It does not make sense even in the books why they keep him around.
They don't.
They do keep him around in the books. Yeah, he's in the White Tower the whole time.
Then does he escape during?
He escapes severing? After. Yeah, he escapes when
because
the tower is broken.
Finds him on the road after she's smuggled out of
No,
the tower.
he's there with them, I think.
No, they escape. Swan Sanche escapes with Min. They're walking down the road and they just see him they find him randomly.
But he's been at the tower the whole time. He only escaped because of all the chaos that was there.
So he escaped
because they talk about how Min is there. Yeah.
Okay.
How he and Min have like weird interactions.
I don't know. If they keep him there, fine. It's just the words that she said to him was like intentionally cruel.
Yeah.
And I don't see Swan's character in the books as a cruel person. She's very caring. And when you see her in the show talking to the girls in private when she doesn't have the mantle, it was great. Yeah. She's like, look, I mean, you guys have with great power comes great responsibility. I'm sorry, we're not trying to trick you, but you kind of have to do what we say because we're right, And I really liked it. It was very down to earth. Okay, and I know there's a bunch of comments that I'm not reading because I'm in the middle of a thing. So if you guys
I'm reading through them.
You're gonna have to.
You're good.
Okay.
They're just saying you're wrong.
The second problem.
Yeah, they're just saying you're wrong. Just kidding.
I'm pretty sure they're all saying they all agree with me. So Swan's punishment of Moraine was
to send her out of the tower, right? Like you've been out of the tower for so long, so now you're banished.
Your punishment is you're gonna still have to not be in the tower.
Yeah, that made me laugh.
Banishment for Moraine was way more harsh than whatever her punishment of Leandrin is, which they don't show.
They don't.
What Leandrin did was way worse than what Moraine did. But Moraine gets banished?
Yep.
That doesn't make any sense.
It does not. It bothered me.
And in hindsight, I realized that they crapped all over Matt's character by making him a coward when he should have just been, he's too sick to go and he's still in the White Tower recovering. And then the next season they could have said, oh, we healed him and his face has changed. But the doozy, which really pissed me off. Like I literally woke up in a heat sweat saying, why did they do this?
You just
Swan
get it out.
Sanche,
it's okay.
As part of the banishment, makes Moraine swear a fourth oath.
Yeah.
What is the oath she makes Moraine swear?
To obey her as the Amerlin.
Obedient to the Amerlin seat. That's what Elida does. That is the reason why people realized Elida was a bad Amerlin. That was literally the last straw. Second to last straw. That's when people started realizing, whoa, Elida is saying we have to swear on the oath rod obedience to her. That started people questioning her. And then the last straw is when she tortures Egwene. And people are like, okay, yeah, Elida's crazy. Okay?
Yeah.
She is like the definition of evil vindication, and you are making Swan Sanche do the same thing?
Yeah, I don't understand it.
Why?
I don't understand it.
Pisses me off.
Except that it's going to be another plot point later, and it's probably related to this, like, the Amerlin seat will be your downfall. But I don't get angry about it as much. Because Rand does the same thing basically to the Aes Sedai, right? He makes them swear on the oath rod to obey, and
not on the oath rod. He knows that they can't lie, and he says, "Swear
I think
fealty to me."
He does. You're right. I feel like later maybe he does
swear obedience. It's literally a plot point in the books where they use the oath. The Black Aja uses the oath rod to torture people by giving them conflicting oaths.
That bothered me too, knowing that the oath rod like shortens your lifespan, and I'm like, and you're gonna make her do another one? Like, what are you doing? That was my reason that I hated it.
Yes, and I know that Moraine changes the wording and swears to obey Swan instead of the Amerlin seat, which is foreshadowing that she's not going to be the Amerlin seat forever. But still, the fact that she makes him swear this oath and no one freaks out.
It doesn't make sense why she's doing the oath either. What is the point here?
First
you already banished
her. She doesn't even need to do the oath.
Yeah, you already banished her.
Because I said I can't lie. And she can just say, promise that you'll be banished until I say you can come back. Why? In the moment, I was like, okay, they're pulling out the oath rod because they need to show non-book readers how the oath rod works. So I was okay with it until I woke up in the middle of the night and realized that that's what the bad person does.
I'm not as upset as you. I understand.
I'm so upset.
Yeah. It bothered me, but I don't.
Seem a little off for the character, for sure. I think those are valid points, Alan. I honestly do. And maybe, and this is the thing, right? Like we keep having these discussions, and then literally later in the story they explain it. So maybe this is another one of those things where they'll just explain it later on.
You can't just explain this away, Jared.
They're gonna get to season 6 or season 7, whatever it is, and they're gonna be like, okay, we gotta show that Elida's a bad person, and then they're reading through the books, and they're gonna be like, oh shoot, we already did that with the good Amerlin.
I don't think that's what'll happen because
I genuinely think they forgot. I forgot too. I forgot about it. That's why I was okay with the scene until I woke up in the middle of the night and remembered, wait, this happens later in the books.
I don't think they forgot because I have seen like how well they know this story and the lore.
Yeah.
Like I have no doubt that it was intentional for a reason, another plot point they're doing later.
It was intentionally stupid for a reason.
I don't like it either.
Just to give you a heart attack, Alan.
Yeah, they're like, this guy's
and I've been very forgiving of changes. I've been very forgiving
and behind this door, more orcs.
I've been very forgiving
really hate that.
Very forgiving of changes in the show because I know you have to make changes, and I've been very supportive. And for the most part, the changes that are making make sense, and I get it. But this one and ruining Lord Algomar, it makes me so like. Why did you didn't need to do it? It doesn't. It only subtracts. It doesn't add to the show.
I agree with Agomar. I feel like we've said that exact same phrase though, and then the next episode we're like, oh, okay.
No
I want to validate you, Alan, because I I do. I see it. It doesn't make sense if they're going to
show
use
writers are
later.
dark friends.
Yeah, right.
It's yeah. I mean, I
didn't like it. I thought it was stupid.
I still really like the show, but episode 6 was just the worst episode.
It was a little harder to watch, but I felt like there were a lot of holes. I mean, as the season has gone on, it's definitely gotten better and better. So I think it'll be fun to talk about for the season finale for sure.
Yeah. On that note, we gotta go. Probably it's been almost 3 hours.
Oh, it's been 3 hours. If they don't cast Danny DeVito as the Dark One, I'm out. The Dark One doesn't even have lines, though, does he?
I feel like in the last book,
the actual Dark One, I'm pretty sure he's fighting a Shamael again.
No, he's talking to the Dark One.
Okay. I need to reread the last book again.
The last book, he and
the
Shamael are fighting, and his foot touches the boar. And then he's in the boar having conversations with the Dark One. And also the Dark One always says, I win again, Luce Theron.
That's a Shamael. Because Luce Theron is the champion of the light and Shamael is the champion of the dark.
You might be right about that one. But I'm positive that he's talking to the Dark One.
I need to reread, but I thought that the big reveal of the last book is that the Dark One isn't even really a person; it's more of a force. Just like the light is a force, the darkness is a force, and you can't kill the dark. The big reveal was, I can't kill the Dark One. It's just it's just an ethereal thing. There is no Dark One, and it's just people who give in to greed and power that serve the dark, so Shamael has basically always been like the kind of, that's why he thinks he's Balzaman, because he kind of is.
Yeah. I know that he has lines in that book. He talks to the Dark One. So
all right,
he's definitely a force, but he's not. That's the thing he's in that book too. You realize that he really is as big as you make him, almost, right? Like, yeah. He has the power you give him, essentially.
Yeah.
As this force of nature. And yeah.
I'm still upset.
If I were there, I would comfort you. I don't know how to comfort you.
Okay. Well, we need to wrap this episode up, but we will be in person soon. You guys are coming over to my house on Thursday for the season finale. I don't know how I don't have the kind of equipment to do this kind of show like live. So I think what we'll do is we'll watch it all together. I'm making brisket. And we'll
don't tell the fans that.
we'll record like everyone together, like an initial like reaction, and then we'll still do this show in our houses because I don't know how to do that. I don't have 6 cameras at home and a studio. This room's not big enough. This room's barely big enough for me to play D&D. So
that makes sense. Cool.
But I don't have the kind of set that Critical Role does, where I could set up 30 cameras and we could do this as a live talk show.
Set up some little places around your backyard or something like that.
In the snow.
Oh, I forgot about that.
All right, I do have to go though. Okay. So we'll have to cut this up.
Yep, that's the end. We'll see you guys next week for the finale, and then we'll plan some more streams on different things. So, thanks for sticking around, our lovely fans. You guys are great. I love the comments. Send us your theories for the finale, and the next show, I also want to play a game which I did by myself, where we try and plan out 10 seasons of the show, which book finale goes in which season. So because I did it with 8, and then after I did it, the producers came out and said we're willing to go to 10 or 12. I think 12 would be too easy because you only have to cut out 1 book, 2 books. I think we should try and, because it's torture. Doing it with 8 was torture for me. It literally hurt my soul trying to, which books do we cut? It'll be fun to do with you guys to make you suffer.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
See you.
Thanks.